Bit of it is child's play too. The new Persil Eco Bag saves waste, saves mess, saves money.
Tomorrow's programmes on Night Time, including Hollywood Report, America's Top 10 and Conversation with Donahue. Tomorrow's show meets the happily married couples who still date other people. There's drama with Alfred Hitchcock and entertainment news with Simon Potter. And that's Thursday's Night Time. Now it's over to GMTV at 6 o'clock.
Welcome to GMTV on Thursday, the 25th of March at 6 o'clock. I'm Michael Wilson. In this morning's programme, we meet the Dublin mother who's moved thousands of people to show their outrage over the IRA's bombing in Warrington. We look at the future of Britain's coal industry on the day the government finally announces how many pits are to close and how many miners' jobs are to go. We'll be crossing live to Grindthorpe Colliery in South Yorkshire. And we examine the scale of violence in Britain's classrooms after a schoolteacher was allegedly raped by a 13-year-old student. Linda Lusardi will be here to limber us up with a bout of morning exercise, and Andy Stegel has all the latest sports news, including Norwich's return to the top of the Premier League, all hotting up there. All that to come, but first, time for the latest national and international news with Jackie Harper. Morning.
Morning, Michael, thank you. Good morning. 4 children under the age of 5 and a man of 29 have died in a house fire in Scotland this morning. The fire was at a flat in a tenement building in Greenock. The children were 3 brothers, aged 4, 3 and 1, and their 4-month-old sister. The children's mother was out. The dead man was her boyfriend. Thousands of miners will hear today whether the government's pit rescue package will save their jobs. The revised plan will be presented to the Cabinet this morning. The signs are that 13 out of the 31 threatened pits threatened with closure will be saved. Our senior correspondent Martin Frizzell has been to Frickley and Grindthorpe collieries in South Yorkshire.
For 5 months they've lived with uncertainty. This was the early evening shift returning to the surface at Frickley Colliery last night, surprised to be told their pit, one of 5 in Yorkshire, to be saved. What they want to see are the details. Many of the 850 men here fear it could simply be a 2-year stay of execution.
We're looking for a long-term future, not some sort of political fix. I don't want to be working for the next 2 years and thrown out to work to save John Major and Michael Heseltine's skin.
A few miles away at neighbouring Grindthorpe Colliery, the wives, girlfriends and mothers of miners may soon be able to give up their 5-month, 24-hour-a-day vigil if, as expected, a management buyout is approved. It will be a relief. There are precious few jobs as it is in these old mining communities.
There's nothing at all, really, in this area. The pit is the only thing left.
The decline of their industry has made the people of South Yorkshire somewhat cynical. They believe today's announcement is not so much to do with miners and their families, but a crude government calculation on just how many pits have to be kept open to prevent a backbench revolt. Martin Frizzell, GMTV News.
The American actress Kim Basinger has been ordered by a court to pay £6 million after pulling out of a film because of the nude scenes. Miss Basinger said the scenes in the film boxed in Helena were too explicit. This from Maxine Morwinnie.
Kim Basinger listened as the jury found her guilty of reneging on a verbal agreement to star in an erotic movie and ordered her to pay £6 million compensation. The 39-year-old actress, who made her name taking her clothes off in films and for Playboy magazine, said she never signed a contract and that the sex scenes in the film Boxing Helena were too graphic.
Kim Basinger, to this date, as she testified under oath, did not believe she entered into any agreement.
She pulled out of the movie 4 weeks before shooting began, costing the studio millions in lost revenue. The movie is about a woman who has her limbs amputated by a besotted doctor who wants to keep her in a box. It was eventually made starring Twin Peaks actress Sherilyn Fenn. The highly publicized case was closely watched in Hollywood where movie deals are often sealed with little more than a promise.
When an actor or actress commits to do a motion picture, they commit.
Miss Basinger left the courtroom without comment. Maxine Mawhinney, GMTV News.
The House of Commons has been sitting all night after a government victory in the latest vote on the Maastricht Bill. With support from the Liberal Democrats, the government beat off a Tory backbench rebellion, winning by 17 votes. Doctors caring for 12-year-old Timothy Parry, who was horrifically injured in the Warrington bombing, will this morning assess his chances of recovery. Messages of support for Tim and his family lie alongside floral tributes to the youngest victim, 3-year-old Jonathan Ball. Nearly 1,000 people have called for an end to IRA violence at a mass protest in Ireland. It was organised by a Dublin mother outraged at the Warrington bombing. Here's our Ireland correspondent, Alan Fisher.
They came in the hundreds to demand peace. 500 in the main hall, more than 200 still outside. Also there, Gordon Wilson, who lost his daughter in the IRA's Inniskill and Poppy Day massacre.
I don't know what the answer is, but I know of enough people who say enough is enough. Surely nothing but good can come from it.
They stood for a moment in tribute. Then mother of two, Susan McHugh, who organised the meeting in just 48 hours, summed up the feelings in Ireland.
Tonight is a night to remember. It's the night we, the silent majority, have said enough is enough.
Afterwards, Mrs. McHugh said support for the meeting had gone way beyond her expectations.
The mood of the people is that they want something done, and they want something done now.
The next step is a peace rally in Dublin on Sunday, but the organisers of this protest say they hope they have now created a firm foundation for a concerted campaign by the people of all of Ireland against paramilitary violence. Alan Fisher, GMTV News.
And those are the main news stories this morning. The time is now 6 minutes past 6. Here's Michael.
Thanks, Jackie. Right, well, we've had a smidgen of sunshine over the past few days. It's been a bit chilly, though. Let's find out what today is going to hold for the whole country. Charlie Neal's in Birmingham. Good morning.
Good morning. You've got to be grateful for every little smidgen you can get these days, haven't you? You've had it good down there. I can't hear any complaints from you. You'll have it good again today. It has been a frosty start, but hopefully some of that sunshine. Let's have a look.
GMTV's weather with Direct Line Insurance.
Right, it was a frosty old night, especially for Eskdalemuir, just over the borders. It's clocked up the lowest temperature of Britain so far. Bournemouth was quite cold too. All thanks to this high pressure that's now sitting slap bang over the top of Britain. It's the one that booted out that low pressure that was giving us all of that colder, showery weather. Scandinavia is now being treated to that little lot. Lucky old them. The centre of the high is in southern Ireland at the minute, probably down O'Connell Street in Dublin. So, a perfect example of how the winds rotate around high pressure on the picture for this morning, and there they go in a clockwise fashion. And because we're in the centre of it, those are just light winds. There is a bit of mist about at the minute, but as you can see, most places getting some sunshine this morning. Just the Hebrides up there seeing the odd light shower. Sunny spells, I'm afraid, rather than the full-blown thing, I think, this afternoon, but still very pleasant. And just the chance of the east coast seeing a shower coming down on that northerly. Temperatures, as you can see, quite all right today, but we do have more cold ones tonight. We're down to -3 in places, so there's going to be some more frost and probably fog developing with that little lot. And that seems to be the pattern right through tomorrow and through the weekend as well. England and Wales getting rather dry and pleasant days, and frost and fog through the early hours. Scotland and Ireland about the same, except they look like they're going to be seeing some rain later on in the weekend. As the latest then, the updates in about an hour. I shall see you then. Michael.
Thanks, Charlie. Now let's take a look at this morning's newspapers. And the Health Minister's suggesting that condoms should be offered free to 16-year-olds in school is the lead story in two of the tabloids. The Daily Mail, it has Minister in School Condoms Storm. The Express leads on it as well. Some Tory MPs are warning that he was encouraging promiscuity among teenagers. A normal sort of harumphing from the backbenchers. Sir Marcus Fox, chairman of the 1922 committee, says he cannot be serious. The Mirror spends the day with Peter Hamlin, the brain surgeon who saved the life of the boxer Michael Watson. He says, miracles happen every day. People in a coma go home well, and people who are paralysed are able to walk again. The Star returns to the canoeing tragedy in which 4 school children died and recounts how 3 girls who survived tried to save their dying friends with the kiss of life. Our dying kisses, that's the headline in the Star. And the Sun has what it claims is a world exclusive. It's been interviewing, or they've been interviewing, the Duchess of York, who says that despite her marriage breakup, Prince Andrew is still her best friend. And here's a little pearl of wisdom. It's very unusual reading in the Sun, which perhaps is not the greatest friend of the royal family. Fergie explained candidly, life is about growing up. We all have to grow up. There you are, straight from the royal lips. Right. Now, as you may have heard in the news, the future of Britain's coal industry will be announced later today. It's expected that 13 pits remain open out of the 31 originally earmarked for closure last year. In a moment, we're talking to our political correspondent, Michael Hastings. But first, we're joined live from Grimethorpe Colliery in South Yorkshire by our senior correspondent, Martin Frizzell. Good morning, Martin.
Good morning, Michael. Can I just explain where we are? We're just outside the gates of Grimethorpe Colliery. If John the cameraman just pans round briefly to the right, you'll see that's where the colliery is. We are here in the porta cabins and caravans of the Women Against Pit Closures, and thank goodness for them being here because they're keeping us nice and warm.
But Martin, you mentioned in your previous report there is a degree of hope. There's also a considerable amount of cynicism among the miners, seeing that they're somehow supporting the political careers of the Prime Minister and also Michael Heseltine.
Well, indeed. I mean, they will wait until there is an announcement later on today before they actually give their full reaction to it. But they've had 5 months of uncertainty. First of all, they're told there's no hope, certainly for their pit here. Then they're told, well, we'll put the decision off. Then they're told again, no, it's only going to be a couple of pits. Then maybe it's 7. Now it's perhaps 13. And the latest we hear is that Grimethorpe itself may well be a management buyout. Now, on top of all this, of course, there have been redundancy deals been done, and some of the miners believe that basically they've been blackmailed into taking redundancy. So they're very demoralised men. There used to be 3,000 men who worked here. Now there's less than 300.
Will the fight continue, Martin?
Indeed it will, and to prove that it's going to continue, the Women Against Pit Closures plan to carry on. These are wives, mothers, girlfriends, people like Maureen Stubbings here, who's, I think you've got 2 brothers who
I've got 2 brothers who are miners, yes.
Have you been here sort of on and off since October, since initial decision?
Well, we've been active since 84, 85. We've always been there. From setting up in 84, 85, we've never gone away. And then in October, of course, we became active again, and we set up this camp on 13th of January.
And somebody's been here 24 hours a day,
yeah,
just to give the men support.
Yeah.
And there are several sort of dotted all around the coalfields, aren't there? You're not the only one, there are a few others.
No.
But also, yesterday speaking to women here, they were saying that even if it is 12, 13 that are saved, the fight will go on for all 31, is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Just very briefly, Maureen, what's it been like with the uncertainty over the past 5 months?
Well, for the men it's been very demoralising, as you've said, and we're just trying to lift the spirits up, to try not to be blackmailed into taking the redundancies, because after all, the youngish men that's left in the collieries now, and the redundancies will not be as great as some of the payments that's been, and it only basically represents 2 years' wages, which when that's gone, there's not much prospect of jobs, not in this area around here anyway.
Okay, Maureen. Thank you for the time being, but we hope there's going to be better news today. Thanks. Back to you now, Michael.
Thanks, Martin. Martin Frizzell, outside Grimethorpe Colliery. Michael Hastings joined us. So we are talking about 13 pits, are we, Richard? Definitely.
Well, we're probably talking about 13 pits being saved, which are the number which are included in the Boyd report, the independent report the government wanted to assess into what was viable. There does seem to be indications the government wants to reach the target of 15 set by the Trade and Industry Select Committee. That would, in one sense of the word, not only buy off the rebels, it would also secure a tremendous amount of labour support, because they said they agreed that there was not going to be a mass market for long-term coal, but a limited market provided the government took certain action. So it looks at the moment as though Grimethorpe may be a management buyout, the 13 pits in the Boyd report, an additional pit that was less than viable but could be subsidised, therefore achieving the 15 target, therefore satisfying all sides.
What have they found about the coal industry that they didn't know last October?
Well, to be quite frank, nothing. I mean, what the government has really done is it mismanaged its presentation of the closure plan last October. It was really too premature. It thought it had carried understanding in the coal pits with it. It found the nation didn't understand its case. It was also a difficult political time. We just had the first rumblings after the Conservative Party conference over Maastricht. Very great difficulties over the recession. The government basically seemed to be throwing a lot of people out of work unnecessarily. Now the argument is going to be, look at the long-term decline of the coal industry since the war. Look at the fact that even just in the mid-1980s, there were 170 pits in operation, 175,000 miners.
Now there are 44,000 miners, 50 pits. Face the fact that this has been a long-term decline because of the change of our energy structure.
Where does nuclear energy now fit in then?
Well, it does look as though nuclear energy will continue to be an important part in all of this, that the government will restrict some of the French imports of electricity and will also limit to a certain extent the imports of coal from other sources. But the gas industry will continue to flourish. Many Conservative backbenchers say that they have as many jobs, if not more, in their constituencies supporting gas and the production of elements for gas as coal.
Terribly briefly, in a couple of words, will the coal industry continue in a healthy shape in this country in the years to come?
Well, probably for the next 3 to 4 years, but I wouldn't put its long-term prospects into the next century, no.
Michael Hastings, thank you very much indeed. Now it's 6:15, time to get the travel, weather and news in your part of the country.
Good morning, this is Meridian News. I'm Susie Grant. Customs officers are questioning a man this morning over the seizure of 800 canisters of CS gas at Dover. The canisters, labelled for military use, were found in a Ford Escort during a routine search of vehicles leaving a P&O ferry from Ostend. It's the largest seizure of its kind at the port. A Kent prison officer has been suspended after being found in possession of unauthorised alcohol, televisions and TV adapters. Swaleside Maximum Security Jail on the Isle of Sheppey says the officer, suspended on full pay, faces dismissal in 2 weeks. He's not lodged an appeal. Chemical experts are dealing with a chlorine leak at the water treatment works in Sussex. The fire brigade are at the Weirwood treatment works in Priory Road near Forest Row. 2 water board experts using breathing apparatus are inspecting the chemical drum room. 2 men believed to be armed and dangerous are still at large after police sealed off a village near Ashford. Roadblocks were set up on roads leading into Wittersham yesterday afternoon, and armed police officers surrounded the area. 2 men wanted for serious armed offences were thought to be in the village. No one was captured, and police say the men are still wanted for questioning. 3 people are in hospital with head injuries after a crash on the A23 at Crawley in Sussex. Police say a Rover crossed the central reservation and collided with a Sierra coming in the opposite direction. The 3 people were taken to the New East Surrey Hospital. Sport and Southend United has accepted a revised offer for Stan Collymore from Nottingham Forest. Brian Clough, the Forest manager, has agreed to pay £1.75 million for the Southend player. It's now up to Collymore to make the final decision. And a chef from Ashford has become runner-up in a national competition organised to find a top cook. Kenneth Healy, senior chef at Eastwell Manor in Ashford, was one of 6 competitors who entered the Rue Diner Scholarship. He prepared chicken mousseline and a salmon dish as part of his entry. Yum. Now this morning's travel. Nothing to report on the roads or the trains so far this morning. No doubt we'll have more for you later on. Today's weather, a chilly start again with frost in some places, but staying mostly dry today with sunny spells. East Kent will be cloudier with a few showers. Top temperatures 8 Celsius, that's about 45 Fahrenheit. That's all from Meridian for now. We'll be back in half an hour. See you then.
17 minutes after 6, welcome back. The Today newspaper this morning leads with a graphic picture of the sort of violence teachers face in Britain's school today. Music master John Davidson, there he is, was attacked by a 15-year-old student. His story follows allegations that another teacher was raped by 2 schoolboys, one aged just 13, the other 14, in the classroom this week. Well, how violent have our schools become? Joining us now is head teacher Derek Digman and our education correspondent Carol Vorderman. Good morning to you both. Derek, let's start with you. What actually happened? It was a while ago, wasn't it?
Well, certainly the incident that I was involved personally was many years ago, back in the mid-70s.
What actually happened?
I was threatened by a pupil with a knife. He had brought it into school. In fact, he brought it into school related to an incident totally unconnected with me or another member of staff. And yet what transpired was that both a colleague and myself were physically threatened with the knife.
How did you deal with it?
It was important to attempt to defuse the situation and make sure that the other students who were around and about were protected first and foremost. So we evacuated the room, and then I attempted to reason with the student, and in fact that was successful. It wasn't in any sense brave of me. It was important to try to ease the situation for that particular youngster, but particularly for the others.
Is this fairly common amongst your colleagues now?
No, I think it would be wrong to assume that it's common. Certainly the Elton report, which is not a union survey, but a government survey, going back to 1989, indicated that 1.7% of teachers had experienced some physical aggression during the previous week. That's a very high number indeed. But that's going back 4 years now. It would seem that very little has happened in response to the Elton report recommendations, and that's of concern. The problem is increasing.
Carol, the problem is increasing. I suspect when you and I went to school, I presumably went to school a little earlier than you did, or at least a few years before you did, that there was a gentle clip round the ear and a few bits of chalk got thrown in classrooms, didn't they? And I wouldn't have threatened my teachers with physical violence, probably because I was too scared of them. Is that the problem?
I was too scared of them. I think that's an element of it. I think the major part of it is that schools aren't islands, they are part of society. And really this is more a reflection on how our society is going than necessarily whether, kids get the cane anymore.
But is it a serious problem? Is 1.7% in your opinion a serious
Absolutely, problem? And as Derek quite rightly said, this is a government survey which was conducted over a very short period of time, but the unions claim that something like 16,000 reported cases of violence, physical violence against teachers occur every year. Excuse me. And those are only the reported cases. I mean, how many go unreported? Which is quite colossal, really. That's coming towards about 5% of all teachers.
If there were corporal punishment allowed in classrooms now, would that make a difference?
Well, I mean, that's an opinion that very many people vary on. I think that there's always this, if there's the ultimate threat, maybe it would help. But Derek possibly
whatever it may be.
How can we possibly argue that using violence against students is likely to deter violence? No, that there are two basic ways that we can approach this problem. First of all is in terms of prevention, and then in terms of response to situations. I think it's imperative that we focus our attention and put some resources recommended by the Elton Committee. The Elton Committee recommended that government undertake a survey with regard to how one can improve schools by reducing the size of classes. That research has yet to take place. Now, I'm not saying that the solution is in providing extra resources, but that could be part of the solution. But it's important, it's important in terms of response, that any reported assault, and reports should be encouraged. Some teachers believe that if you don't report it, then you don't expose yourself to the allegation that it's your fault.
Let's just talk briefly about the allegation of rape with this woman teacher. I mean, that must be very difficult, really, because women, of course, can be threatened by 13, 14, 15-year-olds who are actually quite big. What special measures should be done to protect them?
Well, I think it's also an interesting point that that particular school was short-staffed and she was a supply teacher, which is happening more and more often now, isn't it, Derek, within schools, so that they don't know the pupils as well as the permanent staff there, and maybe, the situations will...
Do you suspect then some recommendations may come out of this case as far as the safety of women teachers, particularly in the
I should hope so. I should hope so from the unions and also from the government point of view. And as Derek quite rightly said, there's been no further action since the Elton report, and maybe now is the time that action should be taken.
Derek, specific action, do you think you've talked in theoretical terms about what might happen? What specifically could happen to help things, very briefly?
Specific action, schools need to be more open. We're being forced into a much more competitive environment, and the danger is that schools try to hide these instances away. They do take place. We need to do all we can to change atmospheres and ethos of schools so that these situations are avoided. But once they have occurred, let's talk about it openly. Let's deal with the culprits very firmly indeed. But it has to be out in the open.
Joe Digman, Carol Vorderman, thank you very much indeed. We're coming back to that story in an hour's time when Carol will be back. We'll be talking to a teacher who had to give up her job after she was attacked by pupils. Coming up, all the latest sports news, including Norwich back on top of the Premier League.
Life can be a real pain. You get this fresh, smooth-looking skin, but just when you begin to appreciate it, it can start to go. But luckily, it doesn't have to be that way.
Oil of Ulay works like the fluids in young skin, absorbing quickly to replace and lock in that precious natural moisture like a magnet.
And when it comes to the crunch, you never get a second bite. at young-looking skin.
Oil of Ulay, twice a day for young-looking skin.
A knock at the door, threats at gunpoint, and 2 hours to leave your home, taking only what you can carry. Not Nazi Germany, but Europe, 1993.
If there is a hell, this is hell.
Disguised as a Muslim refugee, Adam Holloway joins a group of families forced out of their town at gunpoint and begins a journey through a land where concentration camps and rape are terrifying weapons. The first part of Escape from Bosnia, a Disguises special, Thursday, 9:30.
.25, welcome back. Just before we go to sport, I can tell you that a new bridge is to be named in memory of Bobby Moore, the captain of England's 1966 World Cup winning team. The bridge will be officially opened this summer between Wembley Park Tube Station and the North London Stadium. Bobby Moore, who raised the Jules Rimet trophy for England at the stadium 27 years ago, died last month, aged 51, shortly after he announced he'd been battling against cancer. Andy Steggles here with the rest of the sports news. Well, at least he's going to be remembered, and there will be some sort of football match as well, won't there?
Indeed, and quite right too. I mean, anything to keep his memory alive. He was such a tremendous sportsman, such a tremendous gentleman, quite frankly. I mean, that's the big thing about it, isn't it? He superseded sport, really. Forget that was just what he happened to be good at. But really is a famous and a magnificent man.
Exciting night last night in football?
Oh, wasn't there, yeah. Another dramatic night of Premier League soccer sees Norwich back on top of the pile this morning, just for a change. They're going to get the chance to enjoy the experience. The Premier League takes a break this weekend as England prepare for next week's World Cup tie in Turkey. It was also an important evening for those at the bottom, particularly Nottingham Forest. Philip Barker has all the details.
Nottingham Forest took less than 4 minutes to open the scoring against Southampton. A superb solo effort from Nigel Clough. But when Nicky Banger was pulled over, Southampton had a chance to level. Matt Letizier's spot kick was saved by Crossley. Shortly before half-time, Roy Keane darted in to make it 2-0 to Forest. Southampton did pull one back, with Matt Letizier atoning for his penalty miss, but Forest win lifts them off the bottom. Up at the top, Norwich City took on Aston Villa, Rolf Fox going close early on. But Aston Villa should have scored through Gary Parker. Well, Norwich are top this morning because of this goal, 9 minutes from the end. The scorer, John Polston. He's got double cause for celebration. He's just become a dad as well. Manchester United's latest obstacle in the Championship race was Cup semi-finalists Arsenal. An important save early on by Schmeichel kept United in it. Cantona went close for them later on. But the Londoners were in uncompromising mood. Not even a rare Premier League appearance for Brian Robson could make any difference. Arsenal closest to scoring with Paul Merson. So the next so-called decider, Norwich against United on Monday week. Philip Barker, GMTV Sport.
Can't lose out again, surely. Anyway, right old ding-dong at Hillsborough last night in more ways than one. Wimbledon were banned from Sheffield Wednesday Players Bar after an off-the-ball dust-up between John Fashanu and the Wednesday keeper Viv Anderson. The captain, I should say there. Fashanu was actually shown the red card as he was being stretchered off the pitch. The game ended in a 1-1 draw. So look at how the results affect the top of the Premier. Norwich back on top. Villa and United a game in hand. It doesn't stay the same for long, does it? Now at the bottom, Forest's vital win lifts them 2 places. Had they lost at Southampton, they would have been adrift. It must have been old Big Head's song and dance routine in Chicago yesterday.
Just 2 girls, please, he went. Just 2 girls.
Anyway, in the First Division, there were key wins for 2 of the top-placed teams, Swindon and Millwall. That leaves the table looking like this, with not a lot to choose between the teams chasing Newcastle. Newcastle, though, certainly tipped to go up in style. A makeshift Scotland went down 1-0 to world champions Germany in their friendly at Ibrox, largely due to a magnificent display from the German keeper, Andreas Kupka.
Scotland, in natty pink shirts, were fielding their least experienced side ever, 2 players getting their first caps. It didn't dull their attacking instincts, John Collins going just wide early on. But it was the German keeper who stole the show. This save from Duncan Ferguson was nothing short of sensational, according to Scots manager Andy Roxburgh, denying a certain goal of the year. The game's only score came from a mistake by stand-in skipper Craig Levine, allowing in Karl-Heinz Riedler. That was against the run of play, and it was the skills of Kurtka saving from John Robertson and then later from Brian Irvine that prevented a much-deserved Scottish equaliser. Chris Foreman, GMTV Sport.
Now for GMTV tip and back to earth with a bump after our success on Tuesday. Yesterday's nap didn't run. Sorry about that. Well, the flat season begins today. The GMTV tip is at Doncaster. It's make the break in the 2:30. That's make the break in the 2:30 at Doncaster.
Just before we take the break, bury your head in humiliation. What about this? Look at that. Alf Buksch. Is that how Buksch?
Alf Buksch, yep.
Yeah, and he's going to quit soccer at the end of the season, but I can't stand the abuse anymore. I mean, I thought that's what they got paid for.
They did, but they don't get paid much. £165 is what they get to take all the trials and tribulations. Big story. I really think they should get a... Yeah, I think there should be a real change in the referee system. Germany get £1,000 a game if they go out and take
the more money in it, though, you see, the less like sport it becomes.
Indeed, indeed.
Andy, thanks so much indeed. Coming up, more holiday tips from the Canary Islands, but first time for the main news stories of the day with Jackie Harper.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning. 4 children under the age of 5 and a man of 29 have died in a house fire in Scotland this morning. The fire was at a flat in a tenement building in Greenock. The children were 3 brothers, aged 4, 3 and 1, and their 4-month-old sister. The children's mother was out. The dead man was her boyfriend. Thousands of miners will hear today whether the government's pit rescue package will save their jobs. The revised plan will be presented to the Cabinet this morning. The signs are that 13 of the 31 pits threatened with closure will be saved. Our senior correspondent Martin Frizzell has been to Frickley and Grimethorpe collieries in South Yorkshire.
For 5 months they've lived with uncertainty. This was the early evening shift returning to the surface at Frickley Colliery last night, surprised to be told their pit, one of 5 in Yorkshire, to be saved. What they want to see are the details. Many of the 850 men here fear it could simply be a 2-year stay of execution.
We're looking for a long-term future, not some sort of political fix. I don't want to be working for the next 2 years and thrown out to work to save John Major and Michael Heseltine's skin.
A few miles away at neighbouring Grimethorpe Colliery, the wives, girlfriends and mothers of miners may soon be able to give up their 5-month, 24-hour-a-day vigil if, as expected, a management buyout is approved. It will be a relief. There are precious few jobs as it is in these old mining communities.
There's nothing at all, really, in this area. The pit is the only thing left.
The decline of their industry has made the people of South Yorkshire somewhat cynical. They believe today's announcement is not so much to do with miners and their families, but a crude government calculation on just how many pits have to be kept open to prevent a backbench revolt. Martin Frizzell, GMTV News.
The American actress Kim Basinger has been ordered by a court to pay £6 million after pulling out of a film because of the nude scenes. Miss Basinger said the scenes in the film Boxing Helena were too explicit. This from Maxine Mulwiney.
Kim Basinger listened as the jury found her guilty of reneging on a verbal agreement to star in an erotic movie and ordered her to pay £6 million compensation. The 39-year-old actress, who made her name taking her clothes off in films and for Playboy magazine, said she never signed a contract and that the sex scenes in the film Boxing Helena were too graphic.
Kim Basinger, to this date, as she testified under oath, did not believe she entered into any agreement.
She pulled out of the movie 4 weeks before shooting began, costing the studio millions in lost revenue. The movie is about a woman who has her limbs amputated by a besotted doctor who wants to keep her in a box. It was eventually made starring Twin Peaks actress Sherilyn Fenn. The highly publicized case was closely watched in Hollywood, where movie deals are often sealed with little more than a promise.
When an actor or actress commits to do a motion picture, they commit.
Miss Basinger left the courtroom without comment. Maxine Mulwiney, GMTV News.
Nearly 1,000 people have called for an end to IRA violence at a mass protest in Ireland. It was organised by a Dublin mother outraged at the Warrington bombing. Here's our Ireland correspondent, Alan Fisher.
They came in the hundreds to demand peace. 500 in the main hall, more than 200 still outside. Also there, Gordon Wilson, who lost his daughter in the IRA's Inniskillen Poppy Day massacre.
I don't know what the answer is, but I know of enough people who say enough is enough. Surely nothing but good can come from it.
They stood for a moment in tribute. Then mother of 2, Susan McHugh, who organised the meeting in just 48 hours, summed up the feelings in Ireland.
Tonight is a night to remember. It's the night we, the silent majority, have said enough is enough.
Afterwards, Mrs. McHugh said support for the meeting had gone way beyond her expectations.
The mood of the people is that they want something done, and they want something done now.
The next step is a peace rally in Dublin on Sunday, but the organisers of this protest say they hope they have now created a firm foundation for a concerted campaign by the people of all of Ireland against paramilitary violence. Alan Fisher, GMTV News.
Doctors caring for 12-year-old Timothy Parry, who was critically injured in the Warrington bombing, will this morning assess his chances of recovery. Messages of support for Tim and his family lie alongside floral tributes to the youngest victim, 3-year-old Jonathan Ball. The House of Commons has been sitting all night after a government victory in the latest vote on the Maastricht Bill. With support from the Liberal Democrats, the government beat off a Tory backbench rebellion, winning by 17 votes. Managers of a chemical firm in Germany say Britain is the only country capable of disposing of its lethal toxic waste. The deadly cargoes could leave Hamburg for Wales in 6 weeks. The plans provoked more rows over Britain becoming the chemical dumping ground of Europe. Leaders of both sides involved in the power struggle in Russia have spent the day gathering support for tomorrow's crucial vote. Friday's emergency session of Congress will decide whether to oust President Yeltsin. Here's our Moscow correspondent, Sue Jameson.
This is the day of the floating voters, and these are the men who want them. President Yeltsin's opponents are not sure they can muster that crucial two-thirds majority in tomorrow's Congress to impeach the leader. They're up to 80 votes short, and a slip-up now by either side could turn the balance. Some deputies speculate the president could use his control over the Kremlin's 5,000 presidential guards to try to prevent a meeting within the Kremlin walls.
Friday, beginning of the Congress in Kremlin, if it will be possible.
Will you be allowed into the Kremlin? What about presidential guards?
Ask our dear president.
I don't think that such a Congress is worthy of our holy Moscow Kremlin.
But the president's very unlikely to ban the Congress from meeting here tomorrow. Now there's just 24 hours for those pivotal voters to be pushed or pulled off the fence. Sue Jameson, GMTV News.
And those are the main news stories this morning. It's now 6:36. Back to Michael.
Thank you. Coming up, thoughts on a summer holiday in Tenerife and a chance to win a dream holiday. That's in a couple of minutes.
Easter's easy with £1.50 off 12 ski yogurts. That's why Mum's gone to Iceland.
Are you using a separate detergent and fabric softener? Are you spending more than you need? Stop. You could have made a better buy with Bold. It's an ultra detergent and softener all in one. And it costs less than these two. Don't buy two, just buy one. Bold, all in one. And to save you even more money, there's our new powder refill bag. Better buy Bold.
Thanks, Mum. Say thank you with Cadbury's Roses.
All night long they've been zizzing out their zizzer-zeds, and they're still zeddies. Zeddies need their shreddies. The wholesome crisscross crunch of wheaty munch, so satisfying that it sheds those zeds. Don't be one of the zeddies, eat shreddies.
Tomorrow on GMTV, a great romance remembered with the stars of Poldark and a dramatic departure for the Bills' Viv Martella. GMTV tomorrow.
Short of 22. In a moment, your chance to help this summer's holiday budget with our Holiday Snaps competition. You could win a family holiday to the destination of your choice. But before that, Jackie Harper, who's done a very quick change from reading the news, continues her visit to the Canary Islands. Today she's enjoying the villages of Gran Canaria and the nightlife, we'll hear more about this naturally from her in person, of Tenerife.
Konica Film and Cameras.
In the south of Gran Canaria, you'll come across gorgeous beaches just like this. Perfect for those lazy days, but pretty good for the action-packed stuff too. I'd love to have a go at this jet skiing. Is it easy?
No problem, I've never tried it before.
Okay, let's go. It's well worth some time taking a good look at the island. You can either go on excursions or you can rent some wheels. It doesn't take long to leave behind the wetsuits and water sports, and soon you'll find yourself meandering along the coast, discovering pretty little villages like this one, Puerto Morgan. I can't believe it. Every view here is a picture postcard. But for that ultimate moment of peace and tranquility, you can sit back and watch the shifting sand dunes at Maspalomas. Wasn't big enough for the both of us. But I guarantee you'll have a great time at Sioux City, where you can relive every spaghetti western. In fact, this is where they shot A Fistful of Dollars and A Few Dollars More. The nightlife here is absolutely brilliant. There's over 100 clubs right in this small area. I've got to find out why they're so good.
Nightlife is good because you can be around from 9 o'clock in the evening to 9 o'clock in the morning.
It's great. Every night is a party. The drinks are amazing. Happy hour.
Everybody's crazy. If you're not crazy, you're not here.
There are all these sounds coming at you from so many different directions. I don't know which one to choose. I love it. In Tenerife, holiday prices start at £220 per person. That's based on 2 adults sharing a self-catering studio in Playa de las Americas, flights included. Gran Canaria prices are from £200 each for 3 adults, again sharing a self-catering apartment. Maspalomas is the resort, and flights are included in the price.
Holiday Snaps with Konica Film and Cameras.
Right, your chance, last chance this week to win a holiday worth £2,000 to a destination of your choice. Between now and Easter, we'll be giving away a holiday a week. If you'd like a chance to win, just answer this question. Which continent is closest to the Canary Islands? Is it Africa, Europe, or Australia? Question again, which continent is closest to the Canary Islands? Is it Africa, Europe, Australia? And the number to call for a chance to win that holiday is 0891 111111, 0891 111111. Phone lines will be open from now until 6 o'clock this evening, and we'll announce the winner at this time tomorrow. Quick one from Today newspaper. The world's greatest explorer has trekked across the North Pole, dragged sledges across the South Pole, and gone in search of lost cities. But Sir Ranulph Fiennes got slightly confused when he was asked to find the British holiday town of Cleethorpes. It's on the west coast, he said. Oh no, it isn't. He looked at his atlas and found it was on the east coast, just below Grimsby. Indeed, north of Southampton, but just below Grimsby. And tourism chiefs want to invite him back. It's hard to believe he'd never heard of us. Well, he has now. Coming up, your early morning fitness stint with Linda Lusardi. Now time for the news, weather and traffic, where you're waking up this morning.
Good morning, this is Meridian News. I'm Susie Grant. Customs officers are questioning a man over the seizure of 800 canisters of CS gas at Dover. The canisters, labelled for military use, were found in a Ford Escort during a routine search of vehicles leaving a P&O ferry from Ostend. Overnight, 2 more people were arrested in Blackpool in connection with the find. It's the largest seizure of its kind at Dover. 2 men believed to be armed and dangerous are still at large after police sealed off a village near Ashford. Roadblocks were set up on roads leading into Wittersham yesterday afternoon, and armed police officers surrounded the area. 2 men wanted for serious armed offences were thought to be in the village. No one was captured, and police say the men are still wanted for questioning. Chemical experts have dealt with a chlorine leak at a water treatment works in Sussex. Southern Water say the leak at Weirwood Treatment Works near Forest Row posed no danger to the public. A Kent prison officer has been suspended after being found in possession of unauthorised alcohol and televisions. Swaleside Maximum Security Jail on the Isle of Sheppey says the officer, suspended on full pay, faces dismissal in 2 weeks. He's not lodged an appeal. 3 people are in hospital with head injuries after a crash on the A23 at Crawley in Sussex. Police say a Rover crossed the central reservation and collided with a Sierra coming in the opposite direction. The 3 people were taken to the New East Surrey Hospital. Sport, and Southend United has accepted a revised offer for Stan Collymore from Nottingham Forest. Brian Clough, the Forest manager, has agreed to pay £1.75 million for the Southend player. It's now up to Collymore to make the final decision. And a chef from Ashford has become runner-up in a national competition organised to find a top cook. Kenneth Healy, senior chef at Eastwell Manor in Ashford, was one of 6 competitors who entered the Rue Diner Scholarship. He prepared chicken mousseline and a salmon dish as part of his entry. Sounds good. Now this morning's travel for you. Nothing to report on the roads or the trains so far this morning. We should have something for you later on though. Today's weather, a chilly start again with frost in some places, but staying mostly dry today with sunny spells. Cloudy in East Kent with a few showers. Top temperatures today, 8 Celsius, that's about 45 Fahrenheit. That's it. We'll be back with more at 7:30.
Welcome back. Age, of course, comes to us all, and even if you've spent most of your life fit and well, how do you prepare for those twilight years when the muscles start to go and the waistband expands? Well, Linda Lusardi is here to explain with a rather special old crock who you may just recognise.
Well, hello. Today I'm joined by someone who's got in a very important football match on Sunday. It's Spurs versus Arsenal. No, not the FA Cup semi. This is the veterans taking on each other. And one of those veterans is here with us now. It's our own Gary Stevens. Gary.
How can I be a veteran? I'm not even 31 yet, not till Tuesday anyway.
You told me you haven't played for 2 years.
No, I haven't played for 2 years. My knees are like an old man's knees, but I'm quite well.
I wouldn't say that.
Heart and lungs aren't bad at all.
I think they're very nice.
Thank you. I've always wanted you to do that.
What's this match all about on Sunday then?
Well, it's to raise some money for Michael Watson, the boxer, who ended up in hospital following his fight with Chris Eubank. He's still fighting hard to piece his life back together. It's a great afternoon of activity. Starts at 12:30. There's a celebrity football match with the likes of Daley Thompson playing in that. Gary Mason as well.
And you've got a few pop stars
and
everything there.
There's Aswad, Sunita, she's going to be there as well. So it's a good afternoon, and then the main attraction is Spurs against Arsenal, which the vets, I can't believe I'm a veteran. And that's at
Highbury, isn't it?
That's at Highbury. It's £5 to get in for adults and £2.50 for the kids.
Right, well, let's
But I've been in training. It's all gentle stuff.
Right.
It really is. To keep myself fit, I do a lot of cycling and walking and jogging now, but I do it in the best weather, basically. So if the weather's dodgy, I'll do it at home. So
you run
literally,
around the kitchen.
if we just get ourselves going, get our knees moving. I find exercise on my own quite boring, so what I do is I tend to look at the watch, give myself 2 minutes on. So say we've done this for 2 minutes, then you start to get your arms going. Okay, a little bit of timing, not even picking our feet up yet. So again, maybe we'll do another 2 minutes of this, which gets the heart and lungs and the blood pumping. Then we can actually start to pick our knees up a little bit.
And this is something you can do in front of the telly, isn't it?
Exactly. Hopefully they're all doing it at home at the moment.
Yeah. Well, you can see which side I'm sticking up for.
Yeah, well, right too as well, Linda. Okay, so then you can actually start getting yourself really energetic and jogging. Okay, so by this time, if you're on your own, maybe you've done each of these for 2 minutes, so suddenly you've done 8 minutes of jogging and working. So now it's about time to just slow down a little bit and start to have some stretching exercises. I like to start at the bottom of the body and work up. So quite simply, just do some ankle rolling, 3 times in one direction, 3 times in the other. So and then obviously you change 3 times in one direction, 3 times in the other. So that's got your ankles moving anyway. Then we'll move on to our calves. So shoulder width apart, just some gentle heel raises. Again, set yourself a target. Just do 10 to start with. Okay, so already I'm sure you can feel your
you can feel that in your
muscles are working, aren't they? Okay, so eventually you maybe build up to 3 sets of 25, okay? Let's move on to the thighs, so keeping our feet shoulder width apart, just a little squat, and again, start off maybe 10 of them, that's all.
How many times a week would you do this?
Well, I try to do something every day. The truth is that getting up early, as we do, it isn't always that easy. Okay, so we've done some work on the thighs, a little bit of mobility, so hands on our hips, 3 times in one direction. Okay, and then 3 in the other.
Yeah, my bones are cracking there.
Is that what it was? Okay, so we've worked on that one. Let's have a little look at our sides now. So just lean to the side, 1, 2, 3, and then go to the other direction. Okay. Nothing too strenuous at all.
Now, I've always been told you're not supposed to bounce. You're bouncing away there.
Yeah, but I'm a naughty boy. That's the problem. Footballers have always done it
the wrong way.
Yeah, I think that's right.
But
we're
that's
not particularly
they can get away with it because they're fit.
Yeah,
well, most of them are fit.
So obviously we can work our way up our body. There's some shoulder rolling we can do as well, but I don't know about you, I'm pretty tired.
Yeah, you're out of breath there,
I am. Should we go sit down?
I feel sorry for you. I don't think you're going to win.
Will you make it through the 90 minutes? Are you going to play for 90 minutes?
Well, hopefully, unless I get substituted, of course. Yeah.
I mean, it's, you know, joking apart, it's a lot to run, especially running at high peak for that amount of time. Or do you stroll around a bit?
Well, there's a few fat roly-polies going to be playing, so it won't be too bad anyway.
Right, on to the quiz?
Yeah. Before I actually get on to the quiz, I want to give a quick mention to somebody in Leeds. I was at Leeds-Chelsea last night, had my tea in the cracked egg, very nice as well. A mention to June, Ken, Richard, Ken, Natasha and Marcia. Thanks for the food, lovely. And also a couple of supporters, great supporters up at Leeds United. Carl Eaton and Vic Lack. Enjoyed the conversation. Anyway, yesterday I asked you who's been chosen to captain the British Lions on their New Zealand tour. Well, the answer was Gavin Hastings, and yesterday's winner, a gentleman called Peter Murray from London. Congratulations to you, Peter. You will be getting yourself £100 worth of Olympus sports vouchers. Now, if you want to have another go today at winning these vouchers, the question is, Brian Clough has been made the Freeman of Nottingham, but where was he born? Was it A, Manchester, B, Mansfield, or C, Middlesbrough? So, where was Brian Clough born? Was it A, Manchester, B, Mansfield, or C, Middlesbrough? If you know the answer to that and you're not out of breath as I am at the moment, give us a call, leave the answer either A, B, or C. Phone us on 0891 400 700, that's 0891 400 700. Those lines will be open until 6 p.m. this evening. Now don't forget to leave your name, your address and your phone number when you call in. And of course you can always drop me a line about any sporting matter you want. Maybe I'll give your team a mention. Do so, write to me, Gary Stevens at GMTV London SE99 7AA. That's Gary Stevens, GMTV, London, SE99, 7AA. Looking forward to getting your letters. And of course, if I read one of yours out, you get the magic GMTV mug.
And he gets another free meal at the Cracked Egg.
Yeah, it was. I did actually. I had half a free meal. I paid for the main course, and then they They threw my pudding in for nothing.
That'll be Yorkshire folk, you see. They're rather nice. You don't understand this, you Southerners, but they are.
Well, I am
nice
a Southerner, yes, but I enjoy the Northerners. I enjoy their humour and their wit, don't you, Linda?
I do indeed, yes.
Yeah.
Mm. So we'll look forward to you over the weekend playing in this match. That's actually the famous knee. You never leave an opportunity to show that knee. There it is. There's the expensive surgery. Look at that.
Well, you know, it happens. It's an occupational hazard, isn't it, in football? Yeah. You know, there's lots of injuries. Last night, for instance, Fashion, who got carried off playing for Wimbledon, didn't he? I know Linda's a big football fan. She's a Tottenham fan, in actual fact, Linda.
Spurs.
Yeah. So,
the glory
of course,
boys,
there's that big semi-final coming up as well in 2 Sundays' time at Wembley. And the previous day, the Saturday, the 2 Sheffields are playing in the FA Cup.
What about the top of the Premier League now?
Well, it was thrown wide open again last night, wasn't it? Norwich beat Aston Villa at home. Manchester United only drew at home to Arsenal. Manchester United go to Norwich this coming Saturday. So, you know, in many ways, Norwich, it's in their hands. They could win it. And everybody said that they never were going to win it.
OK, thanks very much. Make a little boy very happy.
I have a very important message for Jonathan. He's 11 today. Happy birthday. And he's Michael's son.
Thank you very much indeed. That'll cost me £10 less than the birthday present. Thanks very much. Next, the national and international news. Then we go live to Dublin to talk to the mother standing up against the IRA killers. I'll be back 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. Good morning.
If you'd like more information about any of the holiday destinations featured in Holiday Snaps, you can receive a free copy of this brochure produced in association with Thomas Cook by ringing this number and leaving your name and address. 0891 500 380.
I love entertaining, but I hate the ghastly aftermath, even with the dishwasher. First, the dirties, like this stuck-on egg. No, don't look, it's too awful. Then the delicates. Well, you can't trust conventional powders not to harm fine china, can you? Thank heavens for new Fairy. For the dishwasher, it's great at cleaning, naturally, so it even gets rid of sticky egg. And like Fairy, it's kind, so I can trust it with my delicate dishes as well. Unlike conventional powders, which can fade them. See? Beautifully clean. And my delicate dishes are in safe hands. New dishwasher Fairy takes care of the dirty and the delicate.
It's here, new Ultra Lenore. Ultra concentrated for ultra softness.
Wow, all that softness in a little bottle. And it softens as many loads as this big one.
You only need a tiny capful, because Ultra Lenore penetrates deeper into the wash for a new kind of softness, ultra softness.
Now you can get the ultra softness from a little bottle.
So much softness, so little Ultra Lenore.
Good things do come in small packages.
First came Colour and Light Foundation to make your skin look flawless in any kind of light. Now Max Factor International introduces Colour and Light Pressed Powder, so your finish stays flawless and fresh anywhere. New Colour and Light Pressed Powder. Impact. Max Factor International.
It's not a bad life, eh, Murray?
No.
Contract to do these penguin commercials.
No, I suppose so.
Good money, good perks, eh?
Mind you, Alvin, there's a lot of sharks in the film business.
Well, it's not so much the sharks I'm worried about. It's more the killer whale.
Pick up a penguin.
All night long, they've been zizzing out their zizzer-zeds, and they're still zeddies. Zeddies need their shreddies. The wholesome crisscross crunch of wheaty munch, so satisfying that it sheds those zeds. Don't be one of the zeddies. Eat shreddies.
Thomas the Tank Engine spaghetti shapes from Heinz.
Good. Good morning. Yes, you're watching GMTV. It's Thursday the 25th of March. The time looks almost 7 o'clock. I'm Eamon Holmes.
And I'm Lorraine Kelly. In this morning's programme, we meet the Dublin mother who's moved hundreds like her to show their outrage over the IRA bombing in Warrington. Susan McHugh led a public meeting against the men of violence in Dublin last night. Nearly 1,000 people came to hear her speak. We meet that ordinary woman of extraordinary courage in about 10 minutes. And at around 7:20, we look at why 3/4 of children still don't wear cycle helmets. A new campaign aims to change that. And around 10 to 8, we meet the Bluebells, still young at heart and now back in the charts.
Okay, all that between now and 8 o'clock, as well as Cartoon Adventure with the Super Mario Brothers just after 7:30. And we'll have the latest sports news with Andy Stegel and the local traffic and weather where you live. But the time at 7 o'clock, here's the main national and international news from Jackie Harper.
Thank you, Eamon. Good morning. 4 children under the age of 5 and a man of 29 have died in a house fire in Scotland this morning. The children's mother survived. She was out when the fire began. With the details, here's Stuart Masner.
The 5 bodies were recovered from a flat in a tenement building in Greenock at around 1 o'clock this morning. The children were 3 brothers, aged 4, 3 and 1, and their 4-month-old baby sister. The children's mother was not in the property when the blaze began. The dead man's believed to be her boyfriend. Police say the cause of the fire is not yet known, but that it's not believed to be suspicious. The names of the family have not yet been released. It's believed they were the only residents in the tenement block. Stuart Masner, GMTV News.
Thousands of miners will hear today whether the government's pit rescue package will save their jobs. The revised plan will be presented to the Cabinet this morning. The signs are that 13 of the 31 pits threatened with closure will be saved. Our senior correspondent Martin Frizzell has been to Frickley and Grimethorpe collieries in South Yorkshire.
For 5 months they've lived with uncertainty. This was the early evening shift returning to the surface at Frickley Colliery last night, surprised to be told their pit, one of 5 in Yorkshire, to be saved. What they want to see are the details. Many of the 850 men here fear it could simply be a 2-year stay of execution.
We're looking for a long-term future, not some sort of political fix. I don't want to be working for the next 2 years and thrown out of work to save John Major and Michael Heseltine's skin.
A few miles away at neighbouring Grimethorpe Colliery, the wives, girlfriends and mothers of miners may soon be able to give up their 5-month, 24-hour-a-day vigil if, as expected, a management buyout is approved. It will be a relief. There are precious few jobs as it is in these old mining communities.
There's nothing at all, really, in this area. The pit is the only thing left.
The decline of their industry has made the people of South Yorkshire somewhat cynical. They believe today's announcement is not so much to do with miners and their families, but a crude government calculation on just how many pits have to be kept open to prevent a backbench revolt. Martin Frizzell, GMTV News.
And we can now go over live to Martin Frizzell, who is at the Grimethorpe Colliery. Morning, Martin.
Good morning, Jackie.
Do the miners there welcome the prospect of a management buyout?
Well, socialist roots run deep here, and there are several factors involved. First of all, they believe industries such as mining and steel and textiles should be owned by the nation. They're against privatisation for a start. They're also concerned that that may well mean privatisation, a reduction in numbers, and then a reduction in safety. They're also concerned, of course, that the future of the pit may not be guaranteed. It may not have as many years to run as some are saying, but bearing in mind that they haven't really got many jobs around here. They used to employ 3,000. They employ less than 300 now. They are still jobs. Let's ask, though, the women who've been holding a vigil here day and night since last October when the pit was earmarked for closure. Betty, if I can ask you, we talk about management buyouts. Would the men go for it, do you think?
No, I don't think so, because after all, this industry is owned by the nation. It's part of the nation wealth. Plus the fact that when they privatise the coal mine, then health and safety standards are bound to deteriorate.
But what about jobs then?
Well, jobs at any cost. We're not jobs at any cost. If we are weighing up jobs against profit and against men's lives, then definitely not.
What have the past 5 months been like? How have you been able to keep the men and the families going through this uncertainty?
Well, obviously some people do get a bit down, but we're all winning together. We've struggled a long time. We were all involved in the 84-85 strike, And there is a sense of humour, and that sense of humour pervades through the pit camp, through our homes and through our community.
And the day of action planned for next week goes ahead, even though Grindthorpe may be saved?
It definitely does. We're still supporting other workers in struggle.
Thank you very much indeed. Back now to you, Jackie.
Thanks very much indeed, Martin. The American actress Kim Basinger has been ordered by a court to pay £6 million after pulling out of a film because of the nude scenes. Miss Basinger said the scenes in the film Boxing Helena were too explicit. This from Maxine Mulwiney.
Kim Basinger listened as the jury found her guilty of reneging on a verbal agreement to star in an erotic movie and ordered her to pay £6 million compensation. The 39-year-old actress, who made her name taking her clothes off in films and for Playboy magazine, said she never signed a contract and that the sex scenes in the film Boxing Helena were too graphic.
Kim Basinger, to this date, as she testified under oath, did not believe she entered into any agreement.
She pulled out of the movie 4 weeks before shooting began, costing the studio millions in lost revenue. The movie is about a woman who has her limbs amputated by a besotted doctor who wants to keep her in a box. It was eventually made starring Twin Peaks actress Sherilyn Fenn. The highly publicised case was closely watched in Hollywood, where movie deals are often sealed with little more than a promise.
When an actor or actress commits to do a motion picture, they commit.
Miss Basinger left the courtroom without comment. Maxine Mulwiney, GMTV News.
Nearly 1,000 people have called for an end to IRA violence at a mass protest meeting in Ireland. The demonstration was organised by a Dublin mother outraged at the Warrington bombing. Here's our Ireland correspondent, Alan Fisher.
They came in the hundreds to demand peace. 500 in the main hall, more than 200 still outside. Also there, Gordon Wilson, who lost his daughter in the IRA's Inniskillen Poppy Day massacre.
I don't know what the answer is, but I know if enough people say enough is enough, surely nothing but good can come from it.
They stood for a moment in tribute. Then mother of two, Susan McHugh, who organised the meeting in just 48 hours, summed up the feelings in Ireland.
Tonight is a night to remember. It's the night we, the silent majority, have said enough is enough.
Afterwards, Mrs. McHugh said support for the meeting had gone way beyond her expectations.
The mood of the people is that they want something done, and they want something done now.
The next step is a peace rally in Dublin on Sunday, but the organisers of this protest say they hope they have now created a firm foundation for a concerted campaign by the people of all of Ireland against paramilitary violence. Alan Fisher, GMTV News.
And we'll be talking to Susan McHugh live from Dublin shortly after this news bulletin. Survivors of the Dorset canoe tragedy are recovering at home today after telling how they tried to save their 4 school friends with the kit of life, but rescuers found them too late. We would like to make it clear that the adventure holiday the school pupils were on had no connection with the Outward Bound Trust Limited. And those are the main news stories this morning. It's now 7:07. Here's Eamon.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Right, we've had quite a bit of sunshine yesterday. It was also a little bit chilly, probably, as you were getting out of bed, to tell us what today has in store. Johnny is there with her weather maps and everything
things,
else.
And everything else.
And all those
yeah, I'm
things
complete today.
Good, good.
It's the best mix of weather, don't you think? Lovely by day and nice and fresh at night. And that seems to be the pattern for the next few days. So let's look at it all again, shall we?
GMTV's weather with Direct Line Insurance.
Well, now that we are into spring, the figures for all the bits and pieces we had over winter have been counted up. And you won't be surprised to know that Scotland has had more than its fair share of rainfall over winter. But you might be surprised that the rest of us are down on it. It just always seems so wet, doesn't it? Right, it was a frosty old night, especially for central and southern parts of Scotland. They clocked up the lowest temperature through the night, and all because of this high pressure that's now sitting slap bang over the top of Britain, giving us the clear skies. It's the one that kicked out all of that low pressure that gave us the showery, colder weather. Scandinavia is getting a close look at that little lot now. The centre of the high pressure is over Southern Ireland at the minute, so a perfect example of how winds rotate around the high pressure on the picture. this morning. Hope you're taking notes. I'll ask questions later, and there they go in a clockwise fashion. There are a few mist patches dotted about at the moment, but they'll be lifting soon, and as you can see, most places will see the sunshine again this morning. Just the Hebrides seeing the odd light shower, and maybe the east coast catching one coming down on that northerly this afternoon. Otherwise, sunny spells rather than the full-blown thing for many of us this afternoon, but still a very pleasant thank you. Temperatures are okay for today, but more freezing ones tonight, and they'll get the frost and the fog patches going again. And as I said, that seems to be the pattern through into the weekend as well. So very settled weather, sunshine by day, something to look forward to anyway. The update in an hour. See you then.
Charlie, thanks very much indeed. Now then, following the IRA bombing in Warrington, many words have been said about how to stop the campaign of terror. But now one woman, an ordinary mother from Dublin, has decided to turn those words into action. And last night, Susan McHugh led a public meeting in Dublin to urge everyday citizens to express their anger and outrage at the IRA. Well, she joins us now live from Dublin. Good morning to you, Susan.
Good morning.
You must have been extremely encouraged by the turnout last night.
I was. It was absolutely fantastic. This morning I'm quite tired.
I can imagine you are.
But it's absolutely marvellous.
What sort of feelings were expressed at that meeting?
The feelings of, I suppose, disgust and horror at what happened. The feelings that we've had enough. As I said last night, enough is enough. We don't want any more deaths, and we don't want any more deaths of children. And I think the response of last night shows that.
There's been peace initiatives in the past, but now there really does seem to be a real determination to make a difference, doesn't there?
I think there does. I mean, I'm just an ordinary mum and housewife, and I'm only saying, as I said last night, what I feel the majority of the people in Ireland feel. I mean, women came up to me last night, mums, and sort of said, you're great, you're fantastic. I don't see myself as that. I see myself as just a person who has happened to say what everybody, well, as I said, the majority of us here in Ireland feel.
Susan, though, do you feel for any worries for your own safety? Has that been a concern of yours at all?
None. But if I keep being asked, I tell you, I don't feel that at all. No, I don't think it would further the cause in any way if they did anything to me, and they're not going to.
Well, Gordon Wilson, whose daughter was killed at Enniskillen, was actually there last night. Do you see there being a kind of joining of forces with him? And he has actually said that he wants to meet the IRA face to face and say exactly what you've said, that enough is enough. Is that a possibility?
I think so. I was highly honoured last night to meet Gordon Wilson. I mean, he is just an absolutely fantastic man. I also, last night, there was Patrick Maguire, the youngest of the Maguire family, Annie Maguire's son, and he also is a lovely chap. And I feel together, it'll show the world, if we stand together, it'll show the world that, right, we want peace in Ireland, and we want it not tomorrow, but we want it now today.
You've really started something. There has been incredible reaction from around the world already, hasn't there?
There has. I mean, if I was to stop and think, I suppose, maybe I would get a bit frightened, but I'm not. I'm just taking each day as it comes. My children are the most important thing in my life. And I have to pay a mortgage at the end of the week, and I'm just a normal, ordinary housewife just that happened to say and speak out what everybody else in Ireland feels.
What was it, though? What was the one thing that made you think, I've got to do something about this? I can't no longer sit back. I've actually got to get up and do something.
It was the death of little Jonathan Ball. I have two children, a 6.5-year-old boy and a little girl of 4.5. And I looked at my children and I said, look, it could have been my children. I'm a childcare worker and I work part-time in a creche in Dublin. It could have been any of the children in the creche. And that's what I feel. I do not want any more deaths. I do not want any more deaths of children.
And the next step is the peace rally in Dublin at the weekend?
That's correct, at 3 o'clock on Dublin, and we hope it will be absolutely packed.
Susan McHugh, we wish you all the very, very best indeed. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you very much indeed.
Susan McHugh, we wish her well in her efforts, live from Dublin this morning. Right, let's have a look at some newspapers. The Today newspaper today, please sir, take that. That is a picture of a school teacher, as he said, after he got his head kicked in by a pupil. That is the face of Britain's classrooms today. Music master John Davidson attacked by a 15-year-old. The question is just how violent have our schools become? Now that follows, of course, the story that appeared in many of yesterday's papers about another teacher who was raped by a schoolboy aged just 13 in the classroom. Okay, here to talk about it, our education correspondent, Carol Vorderman, and Catherine Tennessee, who left the teaching profession after she'd been attacked by pupils. Catherine, what was your story? What exactly happened to you?
It was after morning break, and I'd done duty, and the children came into the hall, into the corridor, and they were still a little bit high, kicking the ball around. There's 50 pupils, kicked the ball down the corridor. I, after the ball had been kicked a couple of times, caught it and told them to go to the lesson, collect the ball at the beginning of lunch, which one pupil wasn't going to take this bit of discipline, and knocked the ball out of my hand, punched it out. I then bent down to pick it up, where I was kicked at the back of my hand, my jaw, my thigh, my ribs, by a number of pupils.
And how long had you been teaching, Catherine?
18 years.
18 years. What, I mean, obviously besides the physical hurt and pain, what effect did that attack have on you?
I've lost all confidence in myself in teaching, and I think that makes you very vulnerable with a class of teenagers. If you can't go in and be positive and teach positively, they're ready to jump on any weakness that they can see. So I've lost all confidence in teaching.
Carol, just how bad is the situation in the classroom?
Well, there have been various reports about this. There was one in the late 80s called the Alton Report, which the government did, which claimed that during 1 week there had been approximately 2% of teachers had been attacked. The unions claimed that last year 16,000 assaults occurred, physical assaults in school, and that's nothing to do with the sort of the mental side of it that goes on, the threats that also occur. And also those were the ones that were reported, so it could be many more than that. Even if it's just 16,000, that's still 5% of teachers who are physically abused in some way during any school year. Now that's too many, too many.
Let me ask you, I mean, old question. Can we sort of say, is it worse than it was in our day, whatever our day was?
Definitely. I think, well, my day, we had more respect for teachers, more fear probably. Parents were much more in control of our education as well. And today, I mean, through the 20 years I've been teaching, I've seen violence increasing.
So the answer isn't just legislation, it isn't just teachers. I mean, obviously there has to be a large degree of parental example.
I think so. I think this really is a reflection on what's happening in society. This isn't, schools aren't islands. They don't just exist, you know, and you don't drop the kids off at the gate and then suddenly something magical happens to them when they walk through the gate. Schools are just a reflection on what happens in society. And also, parents, when we used to have parent evenings, you know, when you had internal exams at the end of the school year, if one parent didn't turn up, you know, it was quite something. Now, many schools would be lucky to get half of the parents turning up. And that really is, again, the parental involvement. Not so much in primary schools, where parents tend to be more involved, but more in the secondary schools. And it's all, there isn't one, you know, specific thing that you can pin the blame on, I don't feel. I think this is more a sort of a general thing that has to be looked at.
Well, Catherine, what about teaching as a profession? Would you ever go back into it? Would you recommend it to people who are perhaps thinking about it as a career?
I must say I've been very happy teaching until this incident really happened. I do recommend it as a career, but I think that the government and the schools must do something to help the teachers to carry on their profession. You know,
like what?
They used to have the old sin bins for pupils that weren't behaving properly in classes. You could identify them, you could isolate them and help them with more one-to-one tuition and try and help them through problems. Now, because of cutbacks, there aren't those places, there aren't those other places that you can send those violent children or kids who are emotionally upset. Another thing, I think you need more teachers in schools.
More teachers?
Yes.
What about the cane?
There. I don't think the cane would be of any use at all.
And what happened to the people who attacked you?
Well, the one that I could identify was a fifth-year pupil. So he was only sitting one exam, GCS exam anyway, and he was allowed in to continue his studies on that, on his examination subject, but not to be in school at any other time.
Okay.
Basically there all the time.
Thanks for telling us your story. Carol, thanks for your analysis. That's the situation in Britain's classrooms today. Lorraine.
Well, earlier on we were talking to Susan McHugh, the Dublin housewife who's actually started the peace movement rolling again. Well, There's news just in, just an update on that. Apparently the IRA leadership has agreed to meet Gordon Wilson, whose daughter Marie was killed by the IRA in Enniskillen. A statement issued has said, having given due consideration to the recent public statement from Gordon Wilson, the IRA leadership has decided to accede to his request for a face-to-face meeting. A representative will be in touch with Mr Wilson in due course. We'll take a break. Stay with us. More news on that as it comes in.
Guess who's lost in the desert?
I know exactly where we are. It's just a question of finding it on the map.
In a dodgy second-hand motor. Ray? With some nasty surprises in store. Ray and Arthur find Australia rather trying.
I am not shouting. That is not the English way.
Killer spiders, like toupees on legs.
Anyone got a compass? Minder, tonight at 8:30 on ITV.
Thomas the Tank Engine spaghetti shapes from Heinz.
Mama. 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 Mama.
Marmite. Her mate, your mate, mates for life.
Dame Pack lean and low bacon and plenty of
Exercise.
is a winning combination.
Tomorrow on GMTV, a great romance remembered with the stars of Poldark and a dramatic departure for the Bills' Viv Martella. GMTV tomorrow.
Hello, welcome back. Now, it's a disturbing fact that a third of all cyclists killed or seriously injured on our roads are children under 15. That's why the government today launches an important new advertising campaign called Cycle Safe to encourage children to wear helmets. Well, with us now, Dr. Hilary Jones, who himself knows the dangers of cycling all too well, and Adele Hodgson of the medical research charity Action Research, and the charity's mascot, the very splendid Paddington Bear. Good morning to all of you, Paddington in particular. Good to see you. Good to see you. Now, Adele, the number of children who are actually involved in these accidents, the injuries are so serious because they don't wear a helmet. Why don't they? Why don't they do this?
Well, children don't wear helmets for two reasons. One is that they feel that they look a bit naff. And the second reason is that very often parents don't always go out and buy them because they are quite expensive items.
Right, but with 8 out of 10 children actually owning a bike and riding a bike, it would be vital to make sure that this, really is part of, when you do go out and buy your kid a bike, you make sure they have a helmet. I mean, this looks quite trendy to me, actually.
Can I just make a point about helmets? I haven't seen this one yet. I bought my 4-year-old a helmet. That is the most complicated thing to do. It really is. When you pull these straps and do this and do that, they are not easy. They're not user-friendly to adjust for the size of the kid's head and ears and whatever. So, I mean, I must admit, I think they could do it a lot simpler. Just clip it across the back. But I think it's very complicated.
I think research is ongoing because one of the big problems that we at Action Research face is that we actually pick up the pieces when the children have the accidents. And we're funding research into things like head injuries and fracture healing.
How effective are these, though? How effective are these to prevent
They are effective, obviously, and help and have cut down head injuries, but they're not effective for broken limbs or facial injuries.
Is there a lack of knowledge about general, just basic common sense road safety?
I think there is. We tend to think about road safety in terms only of cars.
Yeah, or being a pedestrian.
And we forget that bikes are on the roads, they're surrounded by cars, and children need to know the rules. And that's why the Department of Transport and Action Research are putting out a lot of advice and hints so that you cycle safely and you're seen.
Now, somebody who had a horrendous accident, I remember it so well.
I remember it pretty well as well.
Oh, you really came a cropper, as they say.
I certainly did. I don't know if we've got the photo that we can call up, but...
Yow.
That's the most handsome man in television, remember?
Yeah, it wasn't at the time.
You ran what happened to you?
It was pretty horrendous. I'd simply made the crass mistake of carrying something on the handlebars, which got caught in the brake pads, and the front wheel locked, and I went straight over the top and was sort of pile driven into the tarmac.
and I had to have a general anaesthetic lasting 2.5 hours to put my face back together.
Right.
And luckily the surgeon did a very good job.
You still bear the scars a wee bit though. You can see it very, very faintly. Did you have a hat on? Did you have a helmet on?
Unfortunately, I didn't, and that's why I would say now, you know, I didn't think I'd need one because I wasn't surrounded by a lot of traffic.
Right.
But when all professionals wear helmets, because they know better than anybody how important they are, and I mean, I thought I was pretty clever, but I clearly wasn't not wearing a helmet. It really is absolutely essential. I would have avoided many of those injuries if I'd had a helmet on. And they are very, I mean, they're good-looking helmets now. You don't look naff in them. And they can save a great deal of injury, particularly skull fractures. They
you
are
make
very,
your boys wear
very
helmets
important.
too?
Absolutely. I went straight out and bought 2 helmets for my older boys.
Good.
And I make them wear them. It's so important. And it isn't just, you know, the children being clumsy at all. It's the crash drivers on our roads. It's the adults.
And people that open the door, you know, when they're getting out of the car, they open the door and the cyclist bang goes right in.
Because most accidents actually happen in restricted speed zones, which is quite a terrifying fact.
Now, Paddington has been extremely patient.
Yes.
But he's got a very special message, hasn't he, about cycle safety?
He has. Paddington is the mascot. He's the person that brings the personal faith to the campaign. He's telling everybody to cycle safely because Action Research raises a lot of money via cycling, and we want people to know that we care about them and we want them to be safe and well. We have a telephone number on the back for those children who want to ring this number, parents too, and we will be delighted to send them the hints and tips.
Move the poles there,
on
Paddington.
cycling.
Brilliant. That's it. Excuse me for manhandling you, Paddington.
We want children to have a lot of fun this summer on bikes.
Absolutely.
So do ring this number to get the information on how to cycle safely.
Well, thank you very much indeed. And Paddington never goes on his bicycle without his helmet. Thank you all.
0403 210406. Right, now, what we're going to do is announce the winners of the Gladiators competition that we ran earlier in the week. The prize was a chance to win one of 25 pairs of tickets to see the Gladiators at Wembley Arena in London tomorrow night. What you had to do was name 3 gladiators from the last British TV series. Now, you could have chosen from Jet, Scorpio, Flame, Phoenix, Lightning, Wolf, Hawk, Panther, Warrior, Saracen, Cobra or Shadow. And to find out if you're a winner, just watch the bottom of the screen. The names are about to follow. Congratulations, if you were one of the winners, that's the sort of thing you've got in store on Friday night, which is tomorrow night, that is indeed. Right, a gladiatorial battle at the top and indeed the bottom of the Premier League.
Thank you very much indeed.
Yes.
It's getting very tight up there indeed.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was another dramatic night of Premier League soccer, and that sees Norwich back on top of the pile this morning. Just for a change, they're going to get the chance to enjoy the experience. The Premier League takes a break this weekend as England prepare for next week's World Cup tie in Turkey. It was also an important evening for those at the bottom, particularly Nottingham Forest. Philip Barker has all the details.
Nottingham Forest took less than 4 minutes to open the scoring against Southampton. A superb solo effort from Nigel Clough. But when Nicky Banger was pulled over, Southampton had a chance to level. Matt Letizier's spot kick was saved by Crossley. Shortly before half-time, Roy Keane darted in to make it 2-0 to Forest. Southampton did pull one back, with Matt Letizier atoning for his penalty miss, but Forest win lifts them off the bottom. Up at the top, Norwich City took on Aston Villa, Rolf Fox going close early on. But Aston Villa should have scored through Gary Parker. Well, Norwich are top this morning because of this goal. 9 minutes from the end, the scorer John Polston. He's got double cause for celebration. He's just become a dad as well. Manchester United's latest obstacle in the championship race was Cup semi-finalists Arsenal. An important save early on by Schmeichel kept United in it. Cantona went close for them later on, but the Londoners were in uncompromising mood. Not even a rare Premier League appearance for Brian Robson could make any difference. Arsenal closest to scoring with Paul Merson. So the next so-called decider, Norwich against United on Monday week. Philip Barker, GMTV Sport.
So, to look at how the results affect the top of the Premier. Norwich back on top, Villa and United, a game in hand, but it doesn't stay the same for long, does it? At the bottom, Forest vital win lifts them at 2 places. Had they lost at Southampton, they would have been well adrift there at the bottom. Now, a makeshift Scotland went down 1-0 to world champions Germany in their friendly at Ibrox, largely due to a magnificent display from the German keeper, Andreas Kupka.
Scotland, in natty pink shirts, were fielding their least experienced side ever, 2 players getting their first caps. It didn't dull their attacking instincts, John Collins going just wide early on. But it was the German keeper who stole the show. This save from Duncan Ferguson was nothing short of sensational, according to Scots manager Andy Roxburgh, denying a certain goal of the year. The game's only score came from a mistake by stand-in skipper Craig Levine, allowing in Karl-Heinz Riedler. That was against the run of play, and it was the skills of Kirtka saving from John Robertson and then later from Brian Irvine that prevented a much-deserved Scottish equaliser. Chris Foreman, GMTV Sport.
Close run thing. Now to the GMTV tip, and with the start of the flat season at Doncaster today, we go for Make the Break in the 2:30. That's Make the Break in the 2:30 at Doncaster.
Didn't like those pink shirts.
Right, they were appalling. What are the men of Scotland doing in that?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what they say.
Save that Duncan Ferguson shorts. God, that should have been in. That should have been well in there.
These pink shirts. I mean, are they the thing?
Maybe they were red and they just sort of ran and washed, you know, faded a bit. I don't know. Right. I don't think we should wear them again.
You know, they say pink makes the girls wink, so all the girls will be following Scotland there. Anyway, 7:30 is the time. Here's the news from Jackie Harper. Keep your face straight.
I absolutely will. Thank you, Eamon. Good morning. The IRA leadership has agreed to meet with Gordon Wilson, who lost his daughter Marie in the Enniskillen Remembrance Day bombing. The news follows last night's peace rally in Dublin organised by Susan McHugh. Gordon Wilson called for a face-to-face meeting with the IRA leaders after the IRA attack in Warrington. 4 children under the age of 5 and a man of 29 have died in a house fire in Scotland this morning. The children's mother survived. She was out when the fire began. With the details, here's Stuart Maidner.
The 5 bodies were recovered from a flat in a tenement building in Greenock at around 1 o'clock this morning. The children were 3 brothers, aged 4, 3 and 1, and their 4-month-old baby sister. The children's mother was not in the property when the blaze began. The dead man's believed to be her boyfriend. Police say the cause of the fire is not yet known, but that it's not believed to be suspicious. The names of the family have not yet been released. It's believed they were the only residents in the tenement block. Stuart Maisner, GMTV News.
Thousands of miners will hear today if their jobs have been saved under the government's pit rescue package. The revised pit closure plan will be presented to the Cabinet this morning. All the signs are that 13 of the 31 pits threatened with closure will be saved. It's now 7:32, time to go to the local news for the latest travel and weather in your area.
Good morning, this is Meridian News. I'm Susie Grant. A man's in hospital with 25% burns after he was seen staggering from a burnt-out car in Sussex. Passers-by saw the man covered in flames walking away from his blazing car on the seafront at Seaford. One person doused the man in the sea and he's now in a serious condition. Customs officers are questioning a man over the seizure of 800 canisters of CS gas at Dover. The canisters were found in a Ford Escort during a routine search of vehicles leaving a ferry from Ostend. 2 more people have now been arrested in Blackpool in connection with the finds. 2 men wanted for serious armed offences are still at large after police sealed off a Kent village. Roadblocks were set up on roads leading into Wittersham yesterday afternoon, and armed police officers surrounded the area. No one was captured, and police say the men are still wanted for questioning. Football and Southend United has accepted a revised offer for Stan Collymore from Nottingham Forest. Forest have agreed to pay £1.75 million for the Southend player. And a chef from Ashford has become runner-up in a national competition organised to find a top cook. Kenneth Healy, senior chef at Eastwell Manor, was one of 6 finalists at the Rue Diners Scholarship. Nothing to report on the road so far, but weather-wise, a chilly start again, but it should be bright and sunny today. Top temperatures 8 Celsius, that's 45 Fahrenheit. That's it, we'll be back with more at 8:30.
Hello, welcome back. Now it's time for this morning's adventures from the Super Mario Brothers, but first let's have some birthday greetings. Carly Foster is 4 today, and she'll be partying in Daybrook, Nottingham with the help of her mum, her dad and brother Kyle. So happy birthday to you, Carly. We hope you have a lovely day. Now then, this wee smiling face belongs to Liam Crane, and Liam will be 5 today, and according to his nanny and granddad, he'll be celebrating with all his friends in Great Yarmouth. And Michelle Harkins from Rutherglen in Glasgow will be sharing her 2nd birthday today with her favourite toy, that's Pooh Bear of course, and we have Michelle's auntie to thank for this lovely photo, and we'd like to join her in wishing Michelle a very happy birthday.
And a rather special day, of course, for Stephen Lewis from London. There's Stephen, and he shares his birthday with his dad, Denzel, actually. So happy 6th birthday to you, Stephen, and that's from your mum, Claire, and I suppose we have to mention Denzel's birthday as well. Denzel's 34 today, so happy birthday to you, Denzel. Also have to mention Jonathan Wilson, Michael Wilson's son, who's 11 today. Good morning, Jonathan. If you're out of bed and watching us from Chiswick, your dad warned me to say that. Right, remember now, if it's your birthday, watch the bottom of the screen for your birthday greeting as we enjoy this morning's adventures from the Mario Brothers.
Plumber's Law, number 1929. We arrived in Crime Land, where the city was in the midst of its worst crime wave ever. And behind it all was the evil King Koopa, now calling himself Al Capone.
I wonder why they call this place Crime Land. Everything seems peaceful to me.
Seriously, wait. Those gangster goons just robbed that bank. Come on, let's nab them. Right there. We're making a citizen's arrest.
Oh, yeah? Well, it's snippets, Bill's friends.
For Al Capone.
Let's teach that renegade reptile that crime doesn't pay.
This soda bar is the perfect place for my new headquarters, the Koopa Club. Those garlic gulping goody-goodies will never get in here. Hey, boss. Your order from the gangster supply store, it has arrived. Fantastic. Put it down.
Gee, it's just a bunch of hats.
That's what you think. Those hats are magic. Now put them on. I'm gonna have myself a Koopa kick. Rampaging reptiles. It works.
I don't get it. We should have more holes than Swiss cheese.
Those hats will repel any kind of weapon. Whoever wears one becomes unzappable.
Now he tells us.
Hand out the hats. We got a Koopa caper to commence.
Al Capone is public enemy number 1.
And if we're going to catch him, we got to find out what his next caper's going to be.
But no one in town will tell us. The dudes are all too scared.
What we need is a stool pigeon.
Bob, over here.
Lucky linguini, a stool pigeon.
You want to know Capone's next job? You mean you'll tell us? Wouldn't be much of a stool pigeon if I didn't. Of course, it'll cost you. How about this, pigeon dude? Chicken feed. But since I'm a bird, I'll take it. Come here. Capone's next job will be to rob the first mushroom bank.
Reach for the sky, mushrooms. This is a stick-up. Plug your ears and watch your rears. I'm going ba-bomb bowling. Let's stash this cash and dash. Not so fast. It's those pastrami plumbers. Do your worst, you pipe patching pinheads. Let's squash them.
Take this, Koopa Creepos!
Vegetables bounce right off of them. This calls for pasta power.
I don't get it! The dudes are unzappable!
That's right. Thanks to our new unzappable hats. Now reach for it, plum scum. What should we do with them, boss? Take them for a ride. I don't think he means you to a joyride.
You better let us go, Al Capone, if you know what's good for you.
You don't scare me. In a few seconds, you'll be sucking seaweed at the bottom of the river.
These cement overshoes are hard to walk in. Somebody help me take mine off.
I'll help you. Get back here, you know-nothing knothead. They're not supposed to walk in them. They're supposed to sink in them. So long, drain brains.
Well, here's another fine mess we've gotten into. Our forces fixing days aren't over yet. Look! Look, here inside you! Starman! Starman, stop right! Give me pasta power! Give me pasta might!
Things going
leave things to Mario. I'll get us in as smooth as Waterford drain pipe.
Is it? It's the face of this gang.
What's the password? Password? Password?
It's cheese bars, you dopes.
Oh, yeah.
Cheese balls. That's better.
Boy, some people are really stupid.
Swinging spaghetti. Look at this place.
We've got to find out where they keep their unzappable hats.
Look, it's the hat check room.
Come on, let's catch this Cooper caper.
Now we're the unzappable.
It's Cooper clobbering time. This is the wife who says Cooper crime doesn't pay. We do, you goofy green good-for-nothing. Curse that crocodile. It's those claw-clearing clodhoppers. Yeah, and they're wearing our unzippable hats. Cooper back. Attack! You've cooped your last coop. Not yet, Bostopus. I still have one coop left up my sleeve.
The dude's escaping into a warp zone.
Lousy lasagna. The coop has flown the coop again.
Yes, but he won't be breaking any more laws in Crime Land.
I don't understand it. Where's Mario? We've looked all over.
I'm up here! And now that we've chased Al Capone from Crime Land, I'm changing the name of the Cooper Club. Mario's Pasta Palace. Until now, this town didn't have one Italian restaurant. And that really was a crime.
Right, it's coming up why a hit from the early 80s is suddenly back in the charts. That's after this break. Stay with us.
Morning.
This Saturday on GMTV, why don't you rise and shine with Kate, Sam and Paul?
Yeah, indeed.
And Count Duckula. The clocks go forward, but Stuart and Pippa are turning back the clock to the glam rock 70s.
So here it is, pop pickers, just you check this out.
At 8:25, Chip and Dale are to the rescue.
This is all your fault.
And at 8:55, get dangerous with Darkwing Duck.
Something tells me this is where the plot thickens.
The plot will thicken Saturday on GMTV.
Oh, magical island, diving, splashing, having fun. Out in the tropical sea, there's never a place to play.
One-piece teeny terrapins are friends straight away and hand-painted so they're extra special. There are also over 100 other exciting toys to collect in Milky Chocolate Kinder Surprise.
We're the teeny terrapins, happy to play all day.
One surprise in 3 is a teeny terrapin.
Living on an island, working in the sun. Here comes the lizard with drinks for everyone. Pineapple and grapefruit, it's a lot of fun. Oh, here comes the lizard. Pineapple and grapefruit live with a totally tropical taste. With a totally tropical taste. Now.
A great idea from Napolina. Take a Napolina pizza base, spread with our pizza topping, and add anything you fancy. Pop into your oven for 10 minutes and enjoy the taste of real Italian pizza you make yourself.
Napolina. Grazie. Take a close look at Nutella. Nutella has lots of hazelnuts. It's the spread you can enjoy while you work. And with all that milk, while you play. Nutella is full of great tasting ingredients like these. No artificial colours or preservatives. It's just delicious. And loved by children. Nutella, the delicious hazelnut chocolate spread from Ferrero.
Comfort now has a wonderfully fresh new fragrance, and you can actually try it by gently scratching this little square. Of course, if your TV doesn't have aroma vision, you could always just pop out and buy a bottle.
New from the Pond's Institute, a moisturizer which protects, replenishes and defends your skin. Pond's Performance Triple Action Daily Moisturizer.
Mum, can Chloe stay for tea?
Shall we say one for Dad?
It's not my birthday, is it? It's not your birthday, is it?
Save the world with Captain Planet. Future of Earth rests in all our hands. Sunday at 8, Captain Planet.
Hello there, welcome back. Now, a recent TV commercial for Volkswagen has given a new lease of life to a top 10 hit from the early 80s. And tonight, the band behind the hit will reform for just one appearance on Top of the Pops. Remember them? Here's the commercial to jog your memory.
Young at heart, yet what a fun. Fools before their time. They married young, for love and life was their only crime. How come I love them now? How come I love them more?
Of course, it was the Bluebells. They reached number 8 with Young at Heart back in 1984. Would you believe that came as a bit of a shock to us? And thanks to the commercial, they're back even higher up the charts at number 5. Well, in a minute we'll meet two of the group. But first, here's how they looked 9 years ago. Oh, goodness me. Well, with us two of the original band members, Bobby Bluebell and Ken McCluskey. Good to see you both.
Hello.
Brought together by a Volkswagen Golf.
By fate. Yeah.
Do you like the advert?
Yeah, I think it's great.
It's good, but you haven't sort of reformed, really. I mean, is it just this one-off?
Still criminals.
Yeah. Is it just this sort of one-off appearance in Top of Pops tonight?
Well, we've done a lot of television this week, to be fair.
Right.
Including this, so, but that's all the performance we're going to do of the song.
So there's no sort of return of the Bluebells?
Luckily not.
Oh, why luckily not?
The thing is, we all do different things. Robert's works with Paul Quinn in the independent group,
Right.
which might not mean a lot to the viewers outside, but they're most of the members from Postcard Records.
Right.
And my brother and I work as the McCluskey brothers, and we have our own record company in Glasgow.
When did you first realise that the song was being used in the advert?
Boxing Day, we have a party every Boxing Day in Glasgow, and the girl from Multi Images, Claire Grogan, she said to Ken that the song was getting used for an advert. Of course, we didn't believe it for a while, and then we got a phone call from the record company saying the single was getting released because of the Volkswagen advert. And I was going, what advert? You know.
Did you not even know that your song was being used?
No one told me. The only way we found out was because Claire had said to us at a party, her sister worked for an advertising agency, blah blah blah, and it went on. From that we weren't told by the official
said
sources.
you, thinking of all the money coming in.
Everyone says that, but we don't care about the money at all.
They could at least give you a car out of it,
spend it
couldn't
when we get it.
I know, that's right.
We've been trying to negotiate a couple of Volkswagen GTIs, but I don't think they're wearing it, you know.
The guy did promise me.
Good. And it's Top of the Pops tonight then, for the Bluebells.
Yeah.
Okay, look forward to it. Lads, thanks very much indeed.
Okay, thank you.
The latest national news next, then Catherine Cusack, Coronation Street's Nanny from Hell. But first we take a break, so stay with us.
Ha-ha! You'll find me Lucky Flyers free on special packs and Lucky Charms. They'll never catch me now. Oh,
Frosty Lucky Charms.
now with a free flyer on every pack.
What's he having? Lasagna. It's the fourth meal he's had this week and I still haven't heard him speak. Just eat.
Bird's Eye Menu Master. The tastiest ingredients, freshly frozen, just as Bird's Eye know how.
I wonder how long it'll last till he's tried all 33 recipes.
Bird's Eye Menu Master. Nothing else tastes quite like home.
For me, the best hair colour is a colour with superb shine and a colour that lasts. Now I found it.
Casting by L'Oreal, the new tone-on-tone shampoo-in colorant. Casting, just twist and apply, so easy to use. Casting, so gentle with no ammonia. Casting from L'Oreal, the new deep shine colour that lasts.
Casting makes my natural hair colour more beautiful than ever, and it lasts.
Casting, the new deep shine colorant from L'Oreal. Thanks, Mum. Say thank you with Cadbury's Roses.
I use Nuance Multi-Styler, and I can style as if I've used a mousse. I use Nuance Multi-Styler instead of a gel spray, and it works just like a gel spray. I use Nuance Multi-Styler as a hairspray, and it gives me hold that moves naturally. I use Nuance Multi-Styler.
The mousse, gel spray and hairspray all in one.
Lots of know-how.
Like Felix.
Well, Murray, the director has decided to start this penguin commercial with one of those arty shots. I personally prefer it when we're in close-up.
That's better. Yeah. We're on. Quick, do something funny. That's not very funny.
Well, it made me laugh. Oh, I've done it again.
Pick up a penguin.
You'll be head over heels with Golden Grahams. There's a free Beverly Hills 90210 poster with every pack. So go get it.
back to GMTV on Thursday the 25th of March. It's coming up to 8 o'clock. I'm Lorraine Kelly.
And I am Eamon Holmes. In today's programme, on the day the government finally announces the fate of the British coal industry, we'll be talking to some of the miners whose jobs are on the line. To do that, we'll be crossing live to Grimethorpe Colliery in South Yorkshire. We'll be doing that just after the 8 o'clock news. Then, at around 20 past 8, yes, we will be meeting, there she is, the nanny from hell, Carmel from Coronation Street, alias actress Catherine Cusack.
And
yes, thank you, Lorraine. Just after 8:30, Dr. Hilary Jones will be telling us why more than 2,000 Britons a week are giving up meat. Why don't you say the rest, Lorraine?
Sorry, I mean, I was too quick off the mark there. It's all that excitement. All that coming up, as well as why children are bad for 90% of marriages, apparently. But first, it's dead on 8 o'clock. Let's get the latest national and international news with Jackie Harper. Good morning, Jackie.
Morning, Lorraine. Thank you. Good morning. The IRA leadership has agreed to a face-to-face meeting with Gordon Wilson, whose daughter Marie was killed in the Enniskillen Remembrance Day bombing. The offer to Mr Wilson comes after a peace rally in Dublin last night, organised by a Dublin mother outraged at the Warrington bombing. Here's our Ireland correspondent, Alan Fisher.
They came in the hundreds to demand peace. 500 in the main hall, more than 200 still outside. Also there, Gordon Wilson, who lost his daughter in the IRA's Enniskillen Poppy Day massacre.
I don't know what the answer is, but I know if enough people say enough is enough, surely nothing but good can come from it.
They stood for a moment in tribute, then mother of two, Susan McHugh, who organised the meeting in just 48 hours, summed up the feelings in Ireland.
Tonight is a night to remember. It's the night we, the silent majority, have said enough is enough.
Afterwards, Mrs McHugh said support for the meeting had gone way beyond her expectations.
The mood of the people is that they want something done, and they want something done now.
The next step is a peace rally in Dublin on Sunday, but the organisers of this protest say they hope they have now created a firm foundation for a concerted campaign by the people of all of Ireland against paramilitary violence. Alan Fisher, GMTV News.
4 children under the age of 5 and a man of 29 have died in a house fire in Scotland this morning. The fire was at a flat in a tenement building in Greenock. The children were 3 brothers aged 4, 3 and 1 and their 4-month-old sister. The children's mother was out. The dead man was her boyfriend. The American actress Kim Basinger has been ordered to pay £6 million by a court after pulling out of a film because of the nude scenes. Miss Basinger said the scenes in the film Boxing Helena were too explicit. This from our Washington correspondent Maxine Mulwiney.
Kim Basinger listened as the jury found her guilty of reneging on a verbal agreement to star in an erotic movie and ordered her to pay £6 million compensation. The 39-year-old actress, who made her name taking her clothes off in films and for Playboy magazine, said she never signed a contract and that the sex scenes in the film Boxing Helena were too graphic.
Kim Basinger, to this date, as she testified under oath, did not believe she entered into any agreement.
She pulled out of the movie 4 weeks before shooting began, costing the studio millions in lost revenue. The movie is about a woman who has her limbs amputated by a besotted doctor who wants to keep her in a box. It was eventually made starring Twin Peaks actress Sherilyn Fenn. The highly publicised case was closely watched in Hollywood, where movie deals are often sealed with little more than a promise.
When an actor or actress commits to do a motion picture, they commit.
Miss Basinger left the courtroom without comment. Maxine Mulwiney, GMTV News.
Thousands of miners will hear today whether the government's pit rescue package will save their jobs. The revised plan will be presented to the Cabinet this morning. The signs are that 13 of the 31 pits threatened with closure will be saved. Our senior correspondent Martin Frizzell has been to Frickley and Grimethorpe collieries in South Yorkshire.
For 5 months they've lived with uncertainty. This was the early evening shift returning to the surface at Frickley Colliery last night, surprised to be told their pit's one of 5 in Yorkshire to be saved. What they want to see are the details. Many of the 850 men here fear it could simply be a 2-year stay of execution.
We're looking for a long-term future, not some sort of political fix. I don't want to be working for the next 2 years and thrown out of work to save John Major and Michael Heseltine's skin.
A few miles away at neighbouring Grindthorpe Colliery, the wives, girlfriends and mothers of miners may soon be able to give up their 5-month, 24-hour-a-day vigil if, as expected, a management buyout is approved. It will be a relief. There are precious few jobs as it is in these old mining communities.
There's nothing at all, really, in this area. The pit is the only thing left.
The decline of their industry has made the people of South Yorkshire somewhat cynical. They believe today's announcement is not so much to do with miners and their families, but a crude government calculation on just how many pits have to be kept open to prevent a backbench revolt. Martin Frizzell, GMTV News.
The German firm planning to export a deadly cargo of toxic waste says Britain is the only country capable of disposing of it. GMTV has filmed inside the Hamburg factory where the lethal cargoes are being prepared for export to Wales. Here's our Europe correspondent, Kathy Smith.
Desolate and decaying, the former Boehringer pesticide plant in Hamburg closed down in 1983, leaving behind its lethal legacy. Part by part, the contaminated site will be dismantled and burnt. 4,000 tons of soil poisoned with cancer-causing dioxins are being incinerated. But the deadliest of all, the leftovers from pesticide production inside these tanks. Too dangerous to deal with here, the Welsh plant Rechem, the only one in Europe to say it will make it safe. International transport laws limit the amount of such dangerous chemicals that can be moved at one time. So if this waste is sent to Wales, it will involve at least 25 separate shipments. As the row rages over Britain becoming a chemical dumping ground, the German firms say they have no choice.
If we could deal with it here, we definitely would do that. We cannot indeed. So we are asking for help.
If the deal is signed, the first ship could sail in 6 weeks' time. Kathy Smith, GMTV News.
And we have some late news just in. A Scarborough trawler is missing at sea with a crew of 3 on board. The Heritage was last seen at 6 o'clock this morning, about 12 miles northeast of Scarborough. We'll give you more details on that story as we get it. It's now 6 minutes past 8. Back to Eamon.
Thank you, Jackie. OK, that is today's news situation. Let's get up to date with the weather. Charlie Neal has that.
Good morning, Eamon. I have indeed, thank you. And I think it's good news. We're all going to see some sunshine today. Let's check out the detail.
GMTV's weather with Direct Line Insurance.
Before we look at that sunshine, though, just a look at the rain. It's all right, we're looking backwards now that winter is officially over. I've added up all the facts and figures for it, and I don't think you'll be surprised to know that Scotland has had more than its fair share of rainfall over the last few months. That's snow and sleet and everything that comes down from the sky, by the way. But you might be surprised that the rest of us are down on it, which is worrying stuff. They'll have those hosepipe bands on by lunchtime. You watch. Right, it was a frosty old start for inland parts of Britain this morning, coldest in Scotland, and a bit misty for some parts as well. And get used to this, because the clear skies this high pressure is giving is going to be around through the weekend too. It's now sitting slap bang over the top of Britain. Ireland is at the centre of it, right over the prom at Dingle Bay, I should think. And so the picture for this morning shows a perfect example of how the winds rotate around high pressure, swirling around in a clockwise fashion there. Of course, we're in the centre of it. Those winds are just light ones. For most of us, you can see, seeing some sunshine this morning, just the Hebrides catching the odd light shower, and maybe the east coast catching one coming down on that northerly this afternoon. And by then, sunny spells, I think, rather than the full-blown thing, but still very pleasant. Thank you. And then for tonight, there'll be more of those F words, I'm afraid. Frost, fog, and flipping freezing temperatures. But right now, some lovely sunshine out there should make the thought of going to work or going to school a bit more bearable. As I said, the weekend pattern looks much the same. There's going to be sun by day, but frost and more of those other F words through the night, and staying dry for most of us, but Scotland and Ireland getting some rain towards the end of the weekend. That's how we're looking for so far. Have a nice one. I shall see you back tomorrow, back to the studio.
Thank you, Charlie. That's what the F factor is, a meteorological term. Now I know. When Charlie mentioned, she said, let's have a look at Lorraine there, I thought it was you she was talking about. Lorraine, she said. Let's have a look at Lorraine. Lorraine. Anyway, okay. We're going to take a break there, and coming up, hope for some of Britain's threatened coal pits. The men and the women fighting for their livelihoods right after this.
Take a close look at Nutella. Nutella has lots of hazelnuts. It's the spread you can enjoy while you work. And with all that milk, while you play. Nutella is full of great tasting ingredients like these. No artificial colours or preservatives. It's just delicious and loved by children. Nutella, the delicious hazelnut chocolate spread from Ferrero.
This week, Sainsbury's suggest you plump for their 2 boneless chicken Kiev at $1.39. With a glass of Sainsbury's light, fruity Muscadet at $2.75. At these prices, you can really make a meal of it.
Introducing a new kind of symphony, a symphony of taste. New multi-Cheerios. Golden corn, toasted oats, crispy rice, hearty wheat. Together, these delicious, crunchy, whole-grain O's create a symphony of taste. Nestle Multi-Cheerios, a symphony of taste.
Wisdom Reflex, about as close as teeth and a toothbrush can get.
Natural Hints from Dulux, now available in 3 new shades.
A great idea from Napolina. Real Italian pizza you make yourself.
Napolina, grazie. Back in the 6th century, 2 Persian monks discovered a secret the Chinese had been guarding for 2,000 years. That secret was silk. Now experience the feeling of silk on your face with Rimmel silks. Enriched with silk and other natural ingredients for a softer, long-lasting finish. As you can see, she looks beautiful in silk. Rimmel silks.
Tomorrow on GMTV, a great romance remembered with the stars of Poldark and a dramatic departure for the Bills' Viv Martella. GMTV tomorrow.
Hello there, welcome back. Now, as you may have heard earlier in the news, the future of Britain's coal industry will be announced later today. It's expected that 13 pits will remain open out of the 31 originally earmarked for closure last year. One of those likely to survive is Grenthorpe Colliery in South Yorkshire. Our senior correspondent Martin Frizzell is at Grenthorpe and we can join him now. Good morning to you, Martin.
Good morning, Lorraine.
There's been talk of a management buyout. How do the workers feel about that?
They're anxious, of course. I have to first of all explain that we're sitting here just outside the colliery. If John, the cameraman, wants to pan round very quickly off to his right, that's the colliery just there. We're here at the porta cabins and caravans of the Women Against Pit Closures. Now, as far as the management buyout is concerned, they're anxious on 2 points. Socialist roots run deep here, and they're against any kind of privatisation of an industry like this. But also they're concerned about safety as well. Let's have a chat with Joan Matron over there, who's been a stalwart of this campaign. It's been 5 months this has been going out, this vigil outside, hasn't it? Yes. Now, Lorraine in London was just asking if this management buyout, which is rumoured Grenthorpe may be offered, goes ahead. What are the fears?
Well, 31st is the first
Just have to thank the coal board for the lorry going past, but it should be gone any minute now. Safety first, you were saying, is a fear.
Productivity is their eyes is the first thing, and safety first comes down the list, well down the list.
What's it been like? Can you just give us some kind of idea? 5 months of uncertainty. What's it been like trying to keep the men going?
Well, we've just kept up our spirits, you know, keep their spirits up as well. We're still here. We're going to be here. It's got to be kept open anyway, because there's a market for it.
Because if it's only 13 pits, it still means there's, again, the same number that won't be kept going.
Yes, that's right, yes.
Steve Tully is also with us. Now, Steve comes from the neighbouring colliery just a few miles away at Frickley, which we understand is one of those that is going to be retained by British Coal, which looks as if it has been saved. Will there be any jubilation there today? Presumably there must be.
No. Our intention from October last year has been to fight for 31 pits. Our intention still is to fight for 31 pits, and we're into the game this morning, today or tomorrow, making a political fix to save Heseltine and Major's skin. Our interest is 31 pits, 30,000 miners' jobs, and these ladies behind me and all the people in the mining communities.
Now, of course, you're saying political fix. We also talked in our chat in the news bulletin that if it's just a 2-year deal, you're worried about what happens after that, isn't it?
Yeah, we're interested in a 2-year deal. We know and have made a case since October that every pit in the country is viable. There's a market for our coal if the political will is there. If the market is given a level playing field for coal and it's not rigged against us like it is for nuclear and it is for the gas industry, every one of the pits in this country can be viable and can survive, and all the 30,000 miners can keep the job.
Do you think you will have the public sympathy as you had last October when it was 31 that were going to go, just like that? If the government does say, well, we're going to save half of them, there may not be that impetus, that the same amount of support behind you as there was then.
Well, I've never ever been a big believer in Tories supporting working people. Tories are Tories and we are what we are. When push comes to shove, your likes of Elizabeth Peacock, your Winston Churchills of this world will vote with their own. That's why they're members of the Tory party, they're not members of the Labour Party, and will, if given enough political persuasion, will vote with their own.
But the day of action planned for next week, that goes ahead even though these pits may be saved?
Yeah, the day of action goes ahead. I would like also to appeal at this stage to all of the trade unionists and fellow workers in this country that feel under threat, that the only way to resolve the situation nationally is for all of the unions in this country to get out on April the 2nd and join us.
But you're hoping for some good news today, that's the main thing.
Hopefully, yes.
Well, thank you all very much indeed. Eamon, thanks to you.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you very much indeed. The time, 8:15. You're watching GMTV. Right. If you're a parent, you will like this next item, a parent of children, yes? It's a commonly, what other sort of parent can you be? It's a commonly held belief that parenthood can save a floundering marriage. But a new survey out today shows that over 90% of relationships suffer when partners actually do become parents. Now, the research is carried out by a group called 1+1, and it shows babies can drive a wedge between their partners. Most couples interviewed said the arrival of a baby actually highlighted problems that existed in their partnership. Well, those findings will come as no surprise to our next guests. They are Pauline and David Lucas, whose marriage went through, shall we say, hard times when their 2 children, Ben and Amy, came along. Well, why? Why? How could those 2 little angels, look at those 2 little innocent faces, how could they cause any problems whatsoever to a marriage?
Well, I think there's a number of issues. There are practical issues, there are emotional issues. The practical issues are simply things like time. You don't have time together as you used to have. So as they come along and they grow up, you lose choice. You can't do the things you used to do. You don't have time to communicate as you used to do.
Yeah, do you know why? That's because, David, you still think like a single person. And that, Pauline, does that not show that it shows you how selfish one is when one is a single person?
I don't think you realise, actually, how much choice you have when you're either a single person or, in fact, in a relationship.
So appreciate it while you've got it.
Absolutely appreciate it. And the other thing as well is that the relationship alters the balance between the 2 of you alters. If the woman gives up work, for example, the sort of shift of power, there's these little power struggles that go on, and it takes time to adjust. And compounded by the fact that you never, ever, ever get any sleep, it seems like you're forever trying to negotiate with each other and keep the thing going.
It's a damage limitation exercise, isn't it, really, kids from day to day? I mean, we should also say that Amy has a heart condition which probably highlights it all for you, or even more.
Certainly that's an added stress if there's a problem with one or both of the children, or however many you've got. That certainly adds to the stress. I think the most important thing, though, really, at the end of the day, is that you have to maintain communication. If you don't maintain communication, if your relationship is not founded pretty strongly in the first instance, then the children can drive a wedge. But with a strong relationship and the maintenance of good communication between the 2, that makes it work.
Yeah. Do you also find, Pauline, that perhaps one or other, both of you, would be guilty of focusing your attention on the kids as opposed to each other?
I think that's probably one of the biggest problems in the relationship, because you're both dealing with how you feel about your children, as well as the adjustment in your own relationship. So David will get home from work and obviously is interested what the children have done all day.
And you're not at this time.
I've had a really exciting day playing with Lego. You know, it's kind of lots of challenging.
Including down worktops and things. Now, what about a private life? Do you remember that?
When was that then?
Private life as a married couple?
Yes.
Yes. We do remember it. And there are certainly elements that you lose, without any question. You lose the ability to be spontaneous. If friends ring up, come round for dinner, you've got to find a babysitter. These are the spontaneous preferences that you tend to lose. And that you have to handle that. But again, communication and understanding is important.
Well, I will leave you with a final thought. You think you have trouble. I have got 3 children under 4.
Oh.
So what about, does that not make you feel good, Polly?
Thank you, great.
And indeed, very good friends of ours have 4 children under 5.
No more.
So that all pales into insignificance. Oh, Amy's starting, she's off and running, goodness me. We'll leave it there. Incidentally, this all climaxes in a national conference today being held at the Royal College of Physicians, and it's called the Partner Parent Trap. So there you go. Okay, what's next?
Well, Pauline and David were talking about the trouble of getting a babysitter. You certainly wouldn't want the next one who's coming up. It's the street star who rocked the cradle just a little bit too far. That's after the break.
Morning. This Saturday on GMTV, why don't you rise and shine with Kate, Sam and Paul?
Yeah, indeed.
And Count Duckula. The clocks go forward, but Stuart and Pippa are turning back the clock to the glam rock 70s.
So here it is, pop pickers, just you check this out.
At 8:25, Chip and Dale are to the rescue.
This is all your fault.
And at 8:55, get dangerous with Darkwing Duck.
Something tells me this is where the plot thickens.
The plot will thicken Saturday on GMTV.
Oh, no.
Dame Pack lean and low bacon and plenty of
Exercise.
is a winning combination. Because the bristles of the new wisdom reflex move up and down in a flexible base, they really hug the contours of your teeth. Wisdom Reflex, about as close as teeth and a toothbrush can get. Natural Hints from Dulux, now available in 3 new shades.
So it's this shot for the championship.
It's Mr. Cadbury's parrot.
When Mr. Cadbury's parrot goes berserk, the geezer just can't get on with his work. Be careful, cause wherever you may go, you'll hear that Cadbury's parrot say, hello.
Chocolate? Rice Krispies?
I'm a good kid, aren't I, Mum?
Kellogg's Rice Krispies chocolate treats. They're a treat to make together.
A great idea from Napolina. Real Italian pizza you make yourself.
Napolina. Grazie.
The tots are a little upset. You adults have been enjoying their Chamborsi Hippo Tots. So make sure there's enough for everyone. It's not only tots that love Hippo Tots.
Save the world with Captain Planet. Future of Earth rests in all our hands. Sunday at 8, Captain Planet.
8. This is GMTV. She's been called the nanny from hell, an Irish waif, an erotomaniac, which apparently is a condition, which we will find out, and an evil temptress are just plain undoubting.
Catherine Cusack's vivid portrayal of creepy Carmel in Coronation Street has ensured that the postbags at Granada TV are bursting at the seams. No wonder when you see her in action. Here she is.
What do you want? Poor old Gail. You don't really stand a chance, do you? I mean, here you are, busily trying to fathom it all out, aren't you? When really, in all honesty, you haven't the brains to see the facts for what slapped you in the face. Stopping him coming to college won't alter anything. I stopped him doing nothing. Packed it in of his own free will. He packed it in? And you'd ruin his career just to get what you want. And what do you want? Apart from a damn good psychiatrist. Just leave him alone and let him come to his own decisions, if you dare. See how you stand up to that, Gail. Oh, but of course you won't, will you? Because you've treated him too badly to let him look at the options fair and square. Carl, you think you know me? You wheedled your way into my house and you think you know me. You don't. I didn't get this family easily. And I'm not going to let some twisted little girl like you take it away from me. No? Watch me.
Oh, that was so chilling. I was
Fatal
shouting.
attraction
I was
meets
shouting at my
Coronation
TV screen. Catherine Cusack, good morning to you.
Good morning.
What a shame you've been getting hate mail and everything.
I have, yeah.
It's been terrible. But that just shows you how convincing you were in the part.
I hope so, yeah.
I was going to say to you, did you watch last night? Did you actually watch the episode last night?
I did, and I didn't know, I hadn't heard about it really, but I thought it was wonderful.
Wasn't it brilliant? I had a lump in my throat when Martin was crying.
Absolutely.
I thought,
I think Martin would never cry, you know.
No, I know.
Like, to see him crying.
It was. Do you think that you'll ever be back, or is that the character away now? Because it's sort of been left that she's been taken back to Ireland by her grandfather.
Yes. Well, I hope so. You know, the door's always open, I suppose. If as far as I know, that's the end. Yeah.
Right.
But you never know. She might just appear round the doorway one day.
What's been the reaction when you're out? You know, wheeling your trolley down Tesco's or whatever. I mean, do people actually come up to you and say, "You evil person, leave them alone"?
they say that. It's kind of with a twinkle in the eye. I haven't really been sort of seriously.
No.
But I was in Dublin, and some woman, in good spirit, but she came in front of me with a trolley, and she turned around and apologised, and went away and came back again and said, if I'd known who you were, I wouldn't have apologised to you, you know.
But there is a real condition, that erotomania, that this does actually happen. I mean, it does happen to people. And you studied that quite carefully, didn't you?
Yes, well, I mean, Granada gave me some stuff to read up on it, and yeah, it was fascinating. It was a case history in America about this woman called Diane Schaefer, and she was really terrifying. I mean, up to Carmel's kind of level, yeah. And she'd go up to this man's wife and at parties and say, I'm going to marry your husband, you know, and just really spooky stuff, yeah.
So it does happen. I mean, it wasn't, because people said at first, oh, it was a steal from the hand that rocks the cradle, that it was a direct steal. But had that storyline been in planning for a